either of you guys looked at this Shane Dawson, Jake Paul thing?
No.
Yes.
I think it is so bad.
Bad?
Awful.
Really? Why?
Some of the worst YouTube shit I've seen in a while.
Oh my god, it's got I watched the newest one today and it has 8.8 million views in the space of like 16 hours. It's insane.
Sure. But I just feel like this is the most artificial, I'm going to stretch this out for as long as possible and make so much money off it. It's like there's sponsorships right at the start of videos. There's ad breaks in the middle of videos, which drives me fucking insane. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know what I've learned or experienced so far. It's felt like this weird just wash of nothing. And I think the way he talks about like mental illness is really fucking bad.
I don't think he's talking about mental illness per se, like with the sociopath thing. I
think
don't
he's
it's meant to
making
be
a
serious.
joke narrative out of mental illness, though.
Yeah, maybe. I think you can. Like,
I don't think
that's
his
right.
audience is going to be able to tell the difference.
Like, it's so nothing. Like, it's a YouTube video that's entertainment that I don't see it as a comment on literally anything. Like, he has this psychologist that's undercover at Jake's house.
Oh, that's
which is
so weird.
Which is so weird and not cool at all. Like if you're like, I just don't think you could look at it as any real commentary. And like, you know, he's like pretending he's never heard the word sociopath before. He's like, oh my god, a sociopath.
And like,
where?
Do a lot of kids watch his channel?
I would say a lot more do now.
I think everyone is watching it. It's just so huge right now. It's like feeding into so many other YouTube channels.
Yeah, and like the editing is just like, I guess if you're looking at it as like just kind of fluff entertainment, it's fine, but it's just like he will literally play a clip of Jake Paul and put machine gun noise over it, and it's like it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
But here's the thing, how is this any different from the shit that's on Netflix? You know what I mean? I've turned on Netflix and I was watching this like BuzzFeed like series where they're like just like, I'm going to a detox center for like my phone or some shit, and you know what I mean? And it's like it's semi-serious but also not really that serious, and the editing is really hilarious as well. But Shane is editing this in real time, like the day before it goes up, and he does a really good job at editing for something that he's done in a day with like 15 hours of footage.
He's not doing it in a day, and he has people working for him.
I'm
guaranteed.
I'm sure he does, but what I'm saying is like people seem to be holding this kind of schlock, and I consider it schlock, to like some higher standard for some reason, when you have like absolute bullshit like on Netflix. Like, you know, there's just so much bullshit. I don't see how this is any different in terms of entertainment.
I feel like you could apply that same argument to any piece of entertainment though.
Yeah, but it's just like, I feel like there's a lot of conversation on Twitter of stuff is like, is this moral? Is this right? And it's just like, I think it's just like, it's not immoral. It's not right. You know what I mean?
Could you not apply the same to a video game or a movie or anything?
But like, yeah, you could, but like, I don't see what's immoral about it. Like, it's like a documentary series.
My argument wouldn't really be that it's immoral as much as it would just be, I think it's just not good.
I find it extremely entertaining. When everyone comes up, I'm like, sweet, that's 40 minutes of my day where I'll be entertained.
But then, and I'm watching it, but then I watch it and I'm like, man, I felt like that was empty. Like there was just nothing in it. You know?
Oh no, he's stretching this out. But then like the Netflix thing, they stretched that shit out across like 10 episodes when it could only be 3 episodes.
Yeah, but I won't watch that either.
Yeah, it's just like, it's bingeable stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like this is held up to this weird higher standard because it's this YouTuber kind of doing a cross YouTube thing, you know? He's like picking the most controversial figures and he's interviewing them for good or for bad.
But I liked his Jeffree Star stuff and I liked his Tana stuff. I thought that was actually kind of interesting. With this, I think like it is the same formula taken to this ultra marketable extreme.
Yeah.
And you're cool? You don't mind?
No, I find it like actually interesting. Like I'm like looking inside the Team 10 house and it's just like there's just something like so weird about watching someone that young rise to that level of popularity and just having a camera inside it and looking at it kind of thing. You know what it reminds me of a little bit is like Louis Theroux's like Weird Weekend stuff.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, that was BBC funded, like, full-on documentaries, but it was him going to weird places like neo-Nazis, porn stars, all of these things, and kind of just being there and filming the weird shit that goes on. And, like, I don't think, like, Shane is definitely trying to construct a narrative, which I don't think is a good idea, but it's kind of interesting to see into these places that I would never want to go. I never want to watch Jake's content, but I'll watch someone's content about Jake.
You see, like, everything you're saying is like that's kind of what has me interested. And, like, I do want to see what's going on with Team 10 and stuff like that. I guess just, like, the level of production and the amount of, like, narrative and spin that's been put on it just feels artificial to me, to the point that I find I don't really enjoy it. Whereas, like, you know, the Weird Weekend stuff, I always feel like the cool thing about Louis Theroux is, like, it's his natural curiosity that comes through, and that's what makes, you know, a lot of his stuff so endearing. But then with this thing, I just feel like it is just this, it is practically a piece of marketing at this point, and, like, that kind of bothers me as well. And, like, I guess just, you know, being on YouTube and stuff, I see how much of this is just purpose built to drive views, to drive ad revenue, to drive all that kind of stuff. And it just feels kind of plastic. And I guess, you know, you could argue, like, well, what did you expect from this? And my answer would probably be, like, I kind of expected maybe something a bit more like the Jeffree Star thing, or like the Tana thing, where, like, it was kind of, there was more, I guess I felt realness to it. But that said, we're on episode 5, and now we're talking to him, and I did like some of the conversations today. I just don't know why the fuck I had to sit through 4 hours to get there.
Those views. Like,
is that not horrible to you?
He's a YouTuber. He makes his money and shit off YouTube. Don't you do the same kind of thing? Isn't that...
Absolutely not. Like, I will put out a video and I'll make sure it's the best possible quality I can. That is the only thing that drives me.
But I think Shane thinks this is the best quality he can do. But, like, you know what I mean? It's like his career is on YouTube, and this is a YouTube project. You know what I mean?
That's not how I see YouTube, you know, and like I would not, like, I'll do things because I think it'll be good. I won't do it to drive views. And like I've always said, the moment that I have to do that stuff to survive on YouTube is when I stop existing on YouTube.
But I think Shane also said, like, who is the biggest person I can talk to that everyone despises? And it is Jake Paul, and no one really knows anything about him. So that is just, like, a good move from that perspective.
Oh, the choice to go with Jake Paul is super interesting. I have no problem with that. Like, I think that video should exist. I just hate how padded out it is.
I know, I get that. And I think just from, like, a YouTube as a platform kind of thing, there's so many, like, all the stuff I watch is always analytical, or a breakdown of this, or deconstruction of this, or why this is good or why this is bad kind of thing. And sometimes it's good just to watch, like, something that's a documentary-esque thing, where it's not telling me why something is good or bad, it's just kind of showing it to me in a weird way, and I'm like, I don't have to listen to this being torn down or built up in any capacity kind of thing. I can make my own judgments of what's happening. I like that we're going into this more, like, documentary style part of it, and I don't see how this is any different or any less kind of weird than anything else that's on Netflix.
I guess, like, the concept I like, again, it's like, I think a Shane Dawson, Jake Paul thing should be super fucking interesting. I just don't like the amount of marketing and the amount of, like, ad revenue dollars and the amount of, like, click farming that's kind of happening with it. Like, that is my problem with it. Not any of the documentary stuff. Not that it's about Jake Paul. Not anything like that.
I guess in terms of the medium is the message, like, a lot of YouTube is that.
Yeah, but I think that's a ultra weak argument, though.
It's not. Like, say if you go on Netflix and you, like, pitch something, they give you a budget. When you're on YouTube, you're kind of like, okay, well, it's ad revenue and it's chasing those deals. I don't know if I agree with that or care about it, because it's non-regulated or whatever, and there's no, like the whole stuff with the, like, I think Shane was pushing this kind of therapist thing.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be a bust. And even the concept of pushing this kind of therapy online kind of thing, but also
the, like, BetterHelp stuff.
Yeah, but then being like, he's a sociopath narrative kind of thing is kind of fucked. Playing the YouTube game to make the thing instead of getting a lump sum of money to fund a creation of something.
Well, like, the thing I always say, like, with YouTube stuff is, like, who are you making the video for? Are you making it for people, or are you making it for an algorithm?
both.
I don't think you need to though, and I think
Yeah.
Shane Dawson has it in him because he is a great editor. He's a very experienced video person. I think he has it in him to make like an amazing Jake Paul documentary. I don't think this is it designed to get clicks and views from teenagers.
But I think that amazing documentary would be the one that had funding and had like loads of time to edit and loads of you know what I mean?
I think you could make an amazing documentary out of the footage he's getting. Just edit it down so it's not 5 40-minute or 9 40-minute videos.
Yeah, I think you're right with that, but like, I mean, every time one pops up, I'm like, oh yeah. I wouldn't say I wouldn't watch it, you know what I mean, kind of thing.
Are you ever going to watch this, Brian?
No. I don't want to get involved in this conversation. Fuck that. My one question is, does Shane ask questions that he would answer himself? Because that's a sign of a good documentarian.
Oh, he's like
Yeah.
a good interviewer.
Yeah.
Like and like he doesn't. I think like in his we've only seen a bit of him and Jake, but in his previous videos, like he doesn't shy away from asking difficult questions, and that's kind of what I appreciate about him. It's just the level of artifice over that's kind of ruining the experience for me.
Yeah.
It seems like he just needs a director then. He
Yeah.
just needs like someone else to get his footage.
But
and-
here's the thing: this is all intentional. Like this is so planned down to the finest detail. Like he knows exactly what he's doing. He's not making this out of any lack of skill on his part. This is all engineered to be as YouTube friendly, as algorithm friendly as possible.
I guess he wants to buy a new car or something.
He could buy many new cars. Like I know, like BetterHelp have contacted me before, and I don't do it then. But like their rates are fucking insanity, like crazy. And so, even off that first video, he could afford all the new cars in the fucking world.
Ferraris for everyone in that weird YouTube house.
So anyway, look, long story short, I'm joining Team 10, and I hope you'll all support me on my new venture. I'm in like episode 9 of the documentary. It's really weird.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Like you're just in the background and then you're like, oh, and then you just like walk out of frame.
There's a bit where the camera goes by, and it's Greg Paul and me, and I'm explaining Hajime no Ippo to him, and yeah.
Jesus. I don't want to watch this.
Me neither, but I'm going to keep watching it. I don't think it's very good. I think YouTube is capable of better. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Neve.
I think it's the most YouTube thing and exactly what YouTube is capable of.
Absolute 100% disagree.
You are in this very niche part of YouTube that actually gives a shit about media, and the other part is literal trash. This is literal trash part of YouTube churning out something. This is vlogger YouTube churning out a documentary.
This is like E-entertainment versus
Yeah.
like
Yes.
something on HBO.
Yeah.
Where like one is made cheap and quick and it's just hype and sensation.
Like he's interviewing
and the other one is like it has
vloggers.
craft.
Yeah, like it's
Okay.
like it's Tana, it's Jeffrey, it's Jake Paul, like Keemstar is going to be in the next episode. Like it's the most trash vlogging trash of YouTube. I don't know why it needs to be held up to any other standard than what it is, which is kind of trashy. Like
I'm going to remember this conversation, and I'm going to hit you with it many times in the next 12 months.
But like I would say the same thing about a Channel 4 documentary. Like they're exploitative and shit and weird, but like that is what they are. I don't think they're great, but they're schlocky entertainment.
Most Channel 4 documentaries are just very well-made freak show pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Freak show pieces. This is a freak show piece.
I want a better made freak show piece. The freak show piece I'm good with. Let me look at Jake Paul's weird fucking life. Let me see his fake ass little relationships and his bizarre clone brother. That's all fine. I think we could do it better. I think we deserve better trash. You, dear listener, you deserve gourmet fucking trash.
I think this is gourmet trash.
It is not, Neve. It's trash, and
You
you know
have
it is.
not eaten the like worst trash. You have not like I eat my couch people. Like there is really
Oh yeah, couch
deep,
cushion eater.
yeah,
I've
there's
seen that.
deep levels of trash, John. Like this is the gourmet trash.
The woman who drinks gasoline.
Yeah, like I just can't stop. Just stop.
It just smells real good.
Oh. Welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
This is episode 85.
85 of possibly the world's strongest video game podcast. I am sitting here with two of the most happening burger DJs in all of Dublin. That's right, we call them burger DJs in Ireland. It means burger disc jockey because the way you cook burgers in Ireland is you get them on a turntable and you spin them real fast until the heat cooks them through. Neve, tell us a little bit about your method.
I like to do the sandwich burger where you have one disc burger, then disc on top, and you spin opposite ways. Mm-hmm. So it shreds the burger as well as cooking it.
Mm-hmm. That's why they call her the Infinity Shard. Brian.
I like to get a track from the 70s and a track from the late 80s. 15-year gap, and I aged that meat real well.
Mm-hmm. That's why they call him Disco Brain Brian.
That's right. I wear a Game Boy around my neck.
It's true. It puts on quite a show. Sorry, I was just looking at our docket and I see the Shane Dawson docu-series has shown up in my quest log.
Well, yeah, I didn't have any input, so I was like, may as well tidy up the notes. I hope everyone is still listening to this podcast.
Yeah, me too. Jesus Christ. Neve, how about you tell us about Carrie?
So I decided to rewatch Carrie from 1976 in preparation to watch the remade version of Carrie that came out last year.
Wait, hang on.
Yeah. There's the Sissy Spacek Carrie directed by Brian De Palma in the 1970s. And then there's the one that came out this decade with Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yes.
Hit Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Julianne Moore.
Is the mother? Yeah. Yeah.
So I watched like 1976 Carrie with my girlfriend who has not a large horror vocabulary, but she's like well into it now, so I'm going through all the classics, so it's really fun. And I was like, let's rewatch Carrie. That's such a good coming of age repression horror film. It is so old. Like, it's real so old.
Yeah, it's real, like, corny.
Yeah.
I remember parts, like, now it's been about a decade, honestly, but I remember parts of it hitting pretty hard. Does it still?
Yeah, no, it holds up. It really holds up. And, like, I think when the remake was announced, people were like, this does not need to be remade. This is a classic. It does need to be remade, because I think the themes are really, really strong and interesting, but the package is kind of, it's a bit weird now. So Carrie is about this young girl who has a really religious mother, so religious that she goes door to door looking for donations and telling the neighbors that they're going to burn in hell, kind of religious. It opens up with a very famous scene with her in the girls' locker room, and she gets her period for the first time. And she doesn't know what's happening to her because her mother has never explained what that is. So the girls just start throwing tampons and pads at her, and just like
that to me is the most horrifying scene in the movie.
She thinks she's dying. Plug it up, and it's like Sissy Spacek as Carrie is just such amazing casting, because Sissy Spacek is this weird line of unconventional beauty, but also someone who looks weird enough that teenage girls would pick on her.
100%.
Yeah, she's
100%.
She has a very spooky, fragile face.
Yeah,
like just kind of massive eyes, kind of gaunt expression.
Yeah, she's very light-colored hair, so her eyelashes are like all blonde, and so is her eyebrows, and she's just very narrow nose and features. So when she looks her worst, she looks like a human skull, and when she looks her best, she looks very like genuinely beautiful in a really interesting way.
When they like that final prom, like she looks incredible. She looks really good. I remember being really surprised by that.
Yeah, and it still holds up. There is so much slapping that happens and physical violence. Like when the school teacher stops the girls from harming Carrie, she literally just slaps them across the face.
Yeah.
This is one of John Travolta's first films, because he was in TV up until this point, so this is kind of his first kind of big feature.
Yeah, he plays one of the Friends jock kind of guys.
He's the bully jock idiot who, by using sex, the mean girl gets him to basically be like, if you love me, Johnny, you'll like do this, you'll get the pig blood. And they literally kill a pig with a sledgehammer kind of to get the pig blood. I forgot that bit too. It's dark. But he hits her, she hits him, like the school teacher's hitting everyone. There's so much slapping and physical, like just hitting people that's just seen as normal.
Physical violence is nature's law, Neve.
Especially in the 70s. You say hello with a slap across the face, seemingly. One of the big thing about Carrie is her mom is extremely scary. That is it.
Yeah.
Mama.
She really scared the
Mama.
shit out of me.
Like, it's kind of like proto Matilda as well. Like, she like puts her into a cupboard and locks her in there, and it's kind of like the chokey.
Yeah, and it's full of Christian iconography.
Yeah, and she has to pray to Jesus.
At one point, does Carrie's mom refer to tits as dirty pillows?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that expression's in my head for a while, and I was like, where the fuck
She's
did
like, Carrie, your dirty pillows are on display. But Mama, they're just breasts.
So with Carrie's repression through all this religion and stuff, she starts developing supernatural powers, the power of like being able to move objects. That progresses more and more as she gets angry. When she gets angry, it just comes out. And it reminds me again, I think I spoke about it a while back, is the film Thelma, which is another kind of in that vein where like kind of repression leads to magical powers. In the end, it turns into a horror. Carrie gets revenge in the most expressive and brutal way on everyone around her.
Yeah, there's all these
very,
like
very good scene.
crazy camera angles, and like there's a bit where camera's spinning around her.
Yeah.
And she's having her freak out, and there's so much like splicing and split screen editing during that whole sequence.
And it's really cool, like for a film from like 76. How old is that? Like
40 over
over 40 years
Yeah.
ago. That's insane.
And especially like when you look at a lot of films back then, like especially not like the well-remembered ones, so many of them are like, well, sure, we're just gonna drop the camera here and we're gonna let the film play out. Like editing wasn't really much of a thing,
Wow.
and it's so cool that it did that.
I think that's one of Stephen King's first stories, if not his
It's
first.
his very first.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think the backstory to that was that he just sort of wrote it and threw it away.
He spent like a year writing it, and he literally threw it away. He put it in the garbage, and his wife took it out of the garbage and sent it off to a publisher's, and he made like apparently then like he made more money off like the first month of that book than he made his entire life.
Wow.
Yeah, he actually I read a really nice book of his called On Writing, which is just about like the just writing and like how to do it properly, and there's a lot of really cool anecdotes and stuff like that from him in there. I'd really recommend it if anyone likes his stories.
So then you're going to watch the remake next.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No, that's like, it's my plan to watch next, and I'll talk about it next episode.
It's a very interesting film. I can't remember if it was made for 3D cinemas or not, because there's a couple bits where things come flying at
I
the
think
camera.
it was at like peak 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've seen it.
But I'm interested in seeing this mostly because I think Julianne Moore can probably do a really good scary mother.
She's really, really good in this film. And they do kind of like update it so like she gets bullied, but this time they have camera phones.
Oh, okay. I think like the casting of Chloe specifically, like what I was saying about Sissy Spacek, is she's not conventionally beautiful, and I think that works in the favor of her being a target for being picked on.
Yeah.
I don't think the same about this actress.
No. And like even the way they style her and stuff, like, you know, she's kind of like, you know, a bookworm, but she's like a H&M bookworm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
She's unattractive in the way the girl from She's All That is unattractive.
Yeah, like-
It's like she's pretending.
A little bit of work kind of shit, and
Yep.
she would be absolutely a beautiful actress, where Sissy Spacek really captures that kind of awkward beauty kind of thing.
Yeah.
totally.
Actually, that kind of leads into the first film I want to talk about, which is 8th Grade. Do you guys know about this film?
Nope.
Is this the Bo Burnham one?
Yeah.
I've been very curious about this.
Oh.
Bo Burnham, the comedian,
yeah.
directed the movie, and it's called 8th Grade, and it is about a 14-year-old girl, and she is a YouTube vlogger, but nobody watches her videos, and it's just about her final few weeks in 8th grade.
Can I ask you a question, Brian?
Yeah.
How Enter the Dollhouse is this?
Complete opposite end.
Really?
Because the main girl in Welcome to the Dollhouse is a little shit. The girl in this is like, you are constantly rooting for her because
Aw.
she's brilliant. They cast a 14-year-old girl in the main role. I can't remember the actor of the character, but she's like an actual 14-year-old girl who was a minor vlogger on YouTube. And Bo Burnham found her that way.
Oh,
But-
weird.
But she looks 14, like she has acne.
Yeah.
and they don't shy away from like putting makeup on her or like making her look older or younger. She looks 14 and she behaves like a 14-year-old. And so she's finishing up in 8th grade, which is the transition period between finishing like junior high and starting actual high school, because high school starts in 9th grade, which I didn't know because we don't really know the American education.
Whenever I hear like
yeah.
he's in 10th grade, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Okay, so like 8th grade is about 14 turning 15.
Okay.
So when we worked on Randy 9th grade ninja, I was just like, I have no concept of what age this child is.
Yeah, so he's just turned 15, but he's like the youngest he could possibly be in high school.
So what's like the final grade? Because I don't think I've ever heard 13th grade.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Senior.
it is 9th grade. Maybe that's the final year.
No, it's not. That's the first year of
And
the
then you
senior
add
cycle.
in like freshman and sophomore and senior.
Yeah.
And that's confusing.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Email us if you want to
Yeah,
break
you know
down.
what? I'd love an explanation. Thank you.
So 8th grade, what genre of film is that?
I guess this is just like a drama.
Okay, so it's not horror.
No. It's not a horror. Like this is a drama with a sense of humor. There are some difficult scenes to watch. Nothing awful in this film. It's just like it's very honest, and it gets kind of honest in places that it's uncomfortable to watch. But I really enjoyed this film, and I think everyone should watch it, please.
Yeah, I've been so keen to see this.
It's just like there are really funny bits. It's just a really charming, pleasant to watch movie, and I really like the main character in it, and she's brilliant, and I'm really happy she's going to be all right.
So this is Bo Burnham's first film, is it?
Yeah.
Does he have what you would consider a directing tell that's very Bo Burnham, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
In his stand-up, he uses a lot of music, and there's a lot of silly jingles, and just like he'll change his mind all of a sudden in his stand-up and just like go on a different tangent. This film does that, where like it has weird edits where you're like, oh, I guess that scene is over now and we're in this location. Okay, and you just have to go with it. That's
really interesting.
He's commissioned someone else to do the music, but the music is really silly. It's like weird keyboard music, but it works. So like there'll be a bit where like there's a guy in her class that she likes, and it's playing like romantic music, and it's the dumbest fucking music I've ever heard, but it just makes it funny.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds cool.
So I think we all checked out Geo Part 5.
Yeah.
JoJo. Vento Oreo.
I already spoke about this in a previous podcast. What do you guys think?
Really enjoyed it.
A previous podcast? Whoa.
I saw it.
Where?
Oh,
fuck you both. Talk about your shitty anime.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it kind of had a bit of a rough start, like the logo introduction.
The first 3 or 4 shots, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But then after that.
Like even when the logo comes up, there's this camera pan that kind of goes like left and then like right up, and like it seems weird. And I was like, oh no, maybe this doesn't have the same production values as the other seasons did. Totally not a worry. By the time the episode ends, it really like ramps up, and it gets so good with tension and music and just how it looks in every capacity.
Yeah, I love the pacing in it. They covered so many chapters in the first episode.
And it didn't feel like it at all. It just felt natural.
It did a great job at bridging the gap between Part 4, because Part 5 is such a black sheep of the series.
Yeah.
Because there's very few reappearances from characters from now on. For the most part, it's brand new characters in a completely different location.
I really felt like Giorno is like maybe the trickiest JoJo's protagonist. And I really don't mean like the weakest. I mean he's the most subtle. He's the one with the least immediately apparent personality. And I really feel like having that character animated and giving him a voice really makes his charm stand out in a way that I think you have to work much harder to get to in the manga.
Completely agree. Yeah. I didn't nail down his personality at all from reading it. I've always felt a bit of disconnect from him from all the other protagonists. Like I like how he looks, but I'm not getting there personality wise. The first episode of that, I got him completely. Yeah. And I love him. I love his personality. I think it's charming and bold really and silly, and it's good.
I got there eventually with the manga, but it wasn't immediate.
Yeah.
But I think like in the manga as well, I think a big part of part 5 is like nearly Araki getting bored with the idea of having a protagonist, and just letting him fade into the background like through where the other characters step forward. And I think that's awesome. I fucking love the art style. I said last time we were talking about this, it's like a really nice mix between the pop art of part 4 and like the real Araki faithful drawings of part 3. Do you guys?
And I really love that David Productions have like brought that into their adaptation. It's just like how the art style has shifted. And I like that that was a concern, because they could do this all in the same style that they did the very first one, and if they wanted to, because that would be easier to animate, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But they decided that that was an important aspect of the manga.
Do you know one thing? I might be misremembering this. I think they toned down the lick from the version I saw.
Do you think?
Maybe, and I have no way of substantiating that, and maybe it was just that I knew the lick was coming and I was really curious to see Rebecca's reaction. But in the version I saw, I remember like a dramatic like camera move for the lick, and this was a couple of months ago, and maybe it's nothing, maybe I'm misremembering, it could well be, but I thought they toned that down a little bit.
I don't know. I think like the tension of that shot is really in place, and maybe it's like a first time you see it, like it always will hold more power than the second time because you know it's coming.
Yeah, I really like that they're in the tram carriage together, but he leaves, but then he does it through the window of the tram carriage. Yeah, that's my favorite thing about that scene.
Yeah, you think the danger is over. You think he's gone.
Yeah, because the first time I was watching it, I was like, oh wait, are they not gonna? And then I was like, yeah.
No, so far they're super faithful. Like they left in the bit with Journo turning his ear into his ear hole.
So weird.
Even the way they animated it, like popping out piece by piece, I thought was really funny.
Yeah. No, I'm really enjoying it so far. I really like this JoJo. Because like for me, Journo is someone who is for the most part very calm and composed and confident, but is very open to learning and kind of like observing what other people are doing and taking note. Since he has no idea what stands are, and he doesn't know about stand battles or anything like that.
Despite being like the gang leader, he seems much less ego-driven than the rest of the JoJos. Like he seems more like Jotaro in the kind of like, I'm letting this happen around me nearly. Yeah. Where like Jonathan or like Josuke seem like more active.
Totally, yeah. And like he doesn't have like Jotaro's like kind of underlying river of rage that like he's just very this is all okay, which is kind of cool because I think that kind of goes with the stand power and stuff. It's really funny seeing like the energy reflection part of his stand power, because now we're never going to see that again.
yeah because like there were some people at work who were watching it and they were like, so what's his ability? Can he like return people's attacks back at them? And I was like, no, he can just create life from inanimate objects and they can take the hit, but really it's an offensive stand, not a defensive one.
Yeah. But we have some of like the best fights in all of JoJo's coming up, and I can't wait to see how Trish looks, because I think Trish's hair is like the coolest fucking thing, and it's going to be really interesting to see that animated.
I'm really looking forward to like plugging the parts of the manga I read, because it was such a bad scan at the time that I skipped so many chunks, just being like, because it was unreadable.
Yeah.
So I'm in the dark about like sections of this that I can't wait to see play out.
I read it all, and I feel equally in the dark about certain fights. There's one with Trish later on that I have no fucking idea what happened, because it was just that. But anyway, yeah, I'm very excited. This looks great. Brian, tell us about Kidding.
Kidding is the new Jim Carrey show that started back in September. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
All I've seen from it is that the one take shot.
Okay, yeah. I'll get to that in a sec. So it's about Jim Carrey. He plays a Mr. Rogers type children's TV host who has a lot of puppets on his show, and he's called Mr. Pickles. And the production of the show is run by his dad and his sister, who are played by Frank Langella and Catherine Keener, who are both amazing actors. And it's him dealing with the death of one of his identical twin sons, and him like being a ticking time bomb to just imploding. and the people around him like anticipating this and coming up with ways to keep the show running because it's this weird, disgusting business. And it's a super dark comedy. And it kind of parallels Jim Carrey's real life because his wife died from a bad medical prescription that he was partially blamed as a attempted drug overdose.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, so his wife died and he was blamed for it in real life a couple of years ago, and he went to a real state of psychosis.
Yeah,
and
it's really horrible.
Stopped being in movies for a couple of years, took up painting, showed up on red carpet and talked complete nonsense and in circles, and people were just kind of going, are you doing a bit? Because, you know, he's a comedian and he's known for just being...
Yeah, those interviews are really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and so I think this is him kind of like coming to terms with it as himself as well as the character, and I don't know how like cerebral this show will get because it's kind of like a funny 22-minute show, but I hope it kind of gets as dark as it can possibly get.
How far in are you, Brian?
4 or 5 episodes. The first 2 episodes are directed by Michel Gondry, who's that...
Boy, does it show.
Yeah, he's a music video director who does great 5-minute ideas, but does not do very good 2-hour ideas.
Could not agree more.
So he does like a mixture of like practical effects with weird smoke and mirror illusions, but then sometimes he does 3D.
Some of the visual trickery
VFX.
in this is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
The bit where he goes down the waterfall in the barrel.
And it cuts to a paper cutout model of him against like footage of real water.
Yeah.
And then cuts back to him
But
in
they
the studio.
even show how they do it like in a live studio because there's a life-size projector, and so the paper cutout model of him is the same scale as when he walks behind it, and it's really, really cool.
Then then the 3rd and 4th episode is directed by the guy who directed Robot and Frank. Do you watch that movie?
Yeah.
No.
Which is a movie I love.
You were on me for about a year to watch it.
It's a really cute movie. But the 3rd episode is the one that has the famous like 1 million views on Twitter single camera shot where it's a woman who watched his show and she was a drug addict, and over the course of 5 years kind of falls in love with him and rebuilds her life, but it's all done as one take with like a rotating camera move inside her like studio apartment, and it's all done with practical effects, replacing props as the camera has its back to a certain wall and using body doubles so that it looks like there's more than one of her in the shot.
And false walls and stuff.
Yeah, it's so fucking cool. I just think it's a very different kind of show. I'm really kind of curious to see where it'll go because there's some stuff I don't like about the story, but I'm kind of curious to see how it'll all play out.
Is this on Netflix?
It's on Showtime, which is kind of like another HBO network, so it has some fucked up shit in it because it's a cable channel. But there's no way for us to watch it over here without being a pirate.
Arr.
I'm 2 episodes in. I really want to like this show because there's a lot I do like about it. I love the puppets in it. These are some of the coolest puppets I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was puppets, and I'm in just because there's puppetry.
There's a really good bit where the guy gets his car, where Mr. Pickles gets his car stolen, and like these kind of like these like pretty rough looking guys take it back to their chop shop and start deassembling it. Then they find his weird ukulele puppet in the boot, and they're like, oh shit. And they put it all back together and they bring it back to where they stole it and leave it there for him. And there's parts about that I love, but parts of the drama fall so flat for me.
It's very whimsical.
And I think whimsy is my weakness.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And like there's parts that have happened where I'll look at Michelle and be like, I fucking hate this show. This will go to like that completely irrational, most likely completely undeserved hatred I have of shows like The Good Place, where I'm like, this fucking piece of shit, but that's just me. I'm the problem and I understand. But this show kind of does that to me.
Yeah, like This show is kind of like a mix between like The Good Place and Dexter or some shit like that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Because it's kind of charming and colorful and cute like The Good Place, but kind of trashy and fucked up and like kind of in your head like Dexter, like especially early Dexter did.
And like I guess there's stuff like the music is so, this is the emotion that's happening in the scene, and it's like, oh, shut the fuck up and let the scene play out by itself. And I think it's like sometimes I feel like, okay, imagine watching this scene without this music. Would you have any idea what to feel? And a lot of this TV show like that, it's like, no, I wouldn't know what they're going for here at all. But then there are really fun bits to it as well, and the premise is great, and like Jim Carrey's good in it. The actors are all really good. So I think I might keep going with it, but yeah, it's been a struggle.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd ever attempt The Good Place? The new season is out right now, and it's really good.
I feel like so many people have said to me that The Good Place is good, that like I should give it another shot. But like, when I watch it, it is just that skin crawling, like, oh, I hate this so much.
I think if you gave it a few episodes, you would see it's like, it's not what you perceive it to be. There's way more to it than I think what you think there is.
Yeah, it's like a very self-aware Benetton.
Yeah, it's super self-aware.
That kind of knows, like, hang on, this is bullshit.
Yeah. Like, I think that's the joke, is that it is sugary, and literally one of the punchlines of the first season is, hey, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like, they know it is.
Yeah, it's just, you enjoyed consuming it. Like, regardless of the bigger picture, regardless of what the show was going for, its themes or anything, the moment to moment was enjoyable for you. Yeah. It was not to me.
Man. I don't know. I can't explain it.
I kind of get where John's coming from, because like there is stuff where it's like, I can appreciate certain movies, but I don't like them. I get why they exist and it's important, but I didn't enjoy watching it.
And it's like, I think I would like to give it another go, because I always want to consume media that is good, or media that I like, and I don't know. I think Kidding is going to have a real tough time getting there with me. I think The Good Place would have an even more uphill battle. Because I get so we should watch it together sometime so you can see what happens.
Yeah, I would love to pinpoint the moment where you get pissed off, because I can't tell what it is, you know.
Well, there's another Kickstarter or another Patreon goal right there.
John watches The Good Place. Sure.
Oh, Niamh, you went to see Hamlet.
I did. I was talking about this before, and it was the Gate Theatre in Dublin was doing a production of Hamlet with Ruth Negga playing the role of Hamlet. It was amazing. Like, it was like, I felt like I saw something that will go down in history as one of the best portrayals of Hamlet ever. And like, just seeing the reviews coming in, like, it seems like that. It feels like a powerful, important portrayal of Hamlet. And I think through Ruth Negga and through a woman performing Hamlet, I understood the emotion and character of Hamlet so much more than I ever did by reading it or seeing any of the movies, kind of thing. It was a really interesting play. It was done kind of interactive a little, where like they would use the audience space as part of the stage. So at the start, like, it's a modern retelling, so the guards have guns with like spotlights on it, and they're shining it into the audience, and they see the image of like the zombie version of Hamlet's father walking among the crowd, and they're like, what's that on the moors? And
that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's like you're looking around and you're trying to look for what they're looking for, and you see this like character just standing there like deathly pale, and it's like Hamlet's dead father. There's also a bit in Hamlet where Hamlet puts on a play. So the story of Hamlet is it's set in Denmark, and Hamlet loses his father, the king of Denmark, and he realizes through the ghost of his father that it was murder, that his uncle had murdered the king in order to be the king. So Hamlet decides to put on a play where the murder plays out, and puts it on in front of his uncle so he can gauge his uncle's reaction to the play to see if he's guilty or not. When that happens, all the cast sit in the audience So the cast is watching the play, and the audience then becomes part of the play because we're part of the audience of the.
Oh man, that's really good.
Yeah, and it's
That's
just
so
it's
cool.
just so good. It was such a good moment. And like the Gate Theatre is a really small theatre, but they used the stage so well, just opening doors. There was this latex sheet that kind of spread across that was kind of this divide between the real world and the fake world. And they had like boards that would pull up, and it was the grave where they would take out the skulls. Ruth Negga was absolutely amazing. She is a very small woman. Like I would say like 5'1".
Oh yeah.
Really?
She's tiny.
Yeah, just tiny. She was the tiniest person on stage.
Man,
just a small person from Limerick.
I never picked that up from Preacher.
So small, but like in it, Hamlet like assaults Ophelia, and he assaults his mother and kind of stuff because he's going mad. Her rage in acting in that scene is just so explosive that you feel scared. Like she is just like climbing on top of this other person and just shaking them, and you're just like, holy shit. And like my big takeaway of this is just theater as a whole. If you like acting, if you like going to see movies and you like to see actors act really, really well, you need to go to theater, because you see that level of professionalism and passion and just raw talent right in front of you.
I don't go to the theater often, but every time I do, I'm like, man, I need to fucking do this more, because it's so good.
Me neither. I wish I went more, and it's kind of like spurred me into wanting to go more, because it's as cheap as going to the cinema. You get to see like amazing actors just act. And if there's a theater near you, I really, really encourage you to just like give it a shot if you think you might like it.
All right.
Cool. Strong indictments.
Yeah.
Wait, is indictment the right? Yeah, cool. Hamlet. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Brian, tell us about Brigsby Bear.
All right, very quickly. Brigsby Bear is a film I watched earlier today, and it's very good. Do you know about this film?
Nope. Is it a real bear?
No.
Is it a puppet?
It has animatronic. It has an animatronic face. It's kind of like Barney. It's got like bits. Brigsby Bear is a film where you watch the first 10 minutes and you think it's about one thing, and then you watch the rest of the movie and it's about another thing. And it was a pleasant surprise, so I'd rather not say too much about it. Excellent cast. Mark Hamill's in it for like 5 minutes, and he's like full on raspy voice Mark Hamill. It stars Kyle Mooney, I think is the actor. He's a Saturday Night Live actor, and it's produced by a bunch of Saturday Night Live people, but it's a film he's been wanting to make for a long time, and he wrote it and stars in it. And he is so good at playing an extremely awkward person who talks in broken speech patterns. He has a YouTube channel as well called Kyle, which I'm going to loot drop later, where this is at the start of the decade, where he would go around and just film himself at conventions interviewing people, but speaking in almost English. And people going, excuse me? Or people pretending they heard what he said and going, yeah, man, I agree.
That's the one I do.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, really?
And like they're all taken out of context, and sometimes he will interview someone, and when they start talking, he'll just trail the mic off and walk away. And it's just it's kind of like pre-Eric Andre, but it's that kind of vibe. But this film is like a beautifully made film about a guy who grew up watching a children's TV show that is like very educational, but he finds the harsh reality of this TV show, and it's his coping mechanism with reality, and saying goodbye to it. And like it has bits of like Chris Chan to it.
Oh.
Because like he's so obsessed with this fictional character and this fictional world that he has built up himself with his own original content that feeds back into it, and he goes on the internet and shares his thoughts and ideas with it on it.
That sounds amazing.
Do you feel like it was maybe inspired by Chris Chan a little?
Like 5%. That's the thing. It like it feels like Chris Chan for like the first 10 minutes, and then it's like, no wait, it's about this, and you're like, okay, and then you keep going and you're like, that was really sweet. And like it's really hard to like explain the main character, because I don't want to spoil it, but like they do a really good job of like kind of like making him likable while being like this like just unrelatable person, which is really, really cool. Just because like he kind of works super well and plays off all the other people around him, and it's something the actor does as well. Like he's real good at like getting a response out of other people. But yeah, no, it's a very good film.
Cool. Sounds good. And with that, we're going to move into our strategy talk. So I have nearly beaten Devil May Cry 3. I started playing the game because I wanted some footage of it for a thing, but then I actually got like really into it, and I was like, oh man, I've never actually beaten this game, and I really liked Devil May Cry 1, and I love character action games. This was a fun one. And it was really interesting going back to this, because this was a really important game for the character action genre, because like Devil May Cry 1 showed up, and you know, really successful game, everyone liked it. Devil May Cry 2 happened, everyone hated it.
I kind of like that game, but okay.
I think there's cool things about that game. I think the girl in it, awesome. Then Devil May Cry 3 came out, and that kind of restored a lot of people's like love of the genre. But for me, like, I think I only really fell in love with character action with Bayonetta. That's when it kind of happened for me. And this will probably annoy some people. I do feel like Devil May Cry 3 is like a step backwards from Bayonetta. It is very clearly the previous entry in the evolution. And there's so many cool things about it. The game has a great attitude. It has like a lot of really fun cutscenes. Dante has a lot of fun in it. Virgil's a lot of fun in it. It's really good. The combat is like, it's awesome. Like, there's so much fun stuff you can do. But there's other stuff as well. Like, you can pick, like, at the start, you can pick from 4 styles. One is the trickster style, which is like Dante dashing about. And have you played this game, Neve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's using people as like surfboards and
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can do really fun stuff. And then there's like the Swordmaster and Gunslinger, and then the Royal Guard. In later Devil May Cry's, as far as I'm aware, they'd introduce style switching, so you could switch on the fly. But in this one, you pick a style at the start of a stage, and you stick with it for the entire stage. Which is annoying because, like, there's situations where Gunslinger would be a lot better. There's situations where Trickster would be a lot better. And stuff like that was frustrating. Also, I feel like a really amazing 8-hour game trapped in a 13-hour game.
I think you could say that about nearly all of the Devil May Cry's. Devil May Cry 4 is the exact same situation.
Yeah, because like, say with Bayonetta, I don't feel there is an ounce of fat on that game. You just play it, I think it's like 8 or 9 hours, you play it to beginning to end. It is a blast the entire way through. With this, I would say, especially in maybe the last third, there is so much padding and repeat content and doing the same room again but with a slightly different variant of enemies, and it takes away from the magic that is so clearly there, because there is like some of the boss fights in this game. The second boss fight against Virgil is so good, so good, and I really loved all that stuff. But it does get kind of bogged down with kind of this sort of PS2 repeat content kind of stuff. And like, you know, there's a bit towards the end of the game where, you know, you basically just fight all the bosses again in typical Capcom boss rush style. And I really didn't enjoy that. But that's me being hypercritical on a game that is very, very good and very, very important. And like, it does have me really looking forward to Devil May Cry 5, and I did really enjoy my time with it. It's just, I think it is a game that's so early in the genre that it has totally aged, but it is still very, very good. Yeah, people were right to recommend it. Neve, I'm super curious about how you're getting on with Assassin's Creed.
So this is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and this is the next one. They said they were going on their 2-year break, and then Origins happened, and then Odyssey kind of arrived the year after, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, I guess that's not happening.
It does not feel long ago to me that we were talking about Assassin's Creed on this podcast.
It does not feel long enough. And this game is pretty much the Fast and the Furious version of Origins, more kind of standard thriller kind
I hear
of
there's
thing.
a lot of fucking in this game.
Yeah, I'll get to that. But like, this game seems like the popcorn version of Assassin's Creed. And I say that with all the positives and all the negatives that bring. I really liked Origins because it felt like it was this kind of new version of what Assassin's Creed could be, and it brought a lot to the table in terms just visuals and kind of like reimagining a place from the past.
Even from the outside looking in, Origins seemed to revitalize people's excitement for Assassin's Creed in a way I didn't think was possible.
Yes. And like, Bayek was a really good new assassin and a really good new character. This game is if you were like, how do we make the junk food version of Origins? How do we make the superhero version of Origins? In Odyssey, it is... The good part of Origins are all in place. It is visually absolutely stunning. I'm playing this, I played it out on the PS4 Standard Edition and the PS4 Pro, and both are comparable. They both look amazing. Like, both of them are absolutely beautiful games, and you will spend a lot of time in photo mode if that's what you like. If you are a history buff and you just like to see literally all of Greece, all of it, like rendered in extreme beautiful detail, from flowers to like cracks and stones to little objects on tables, this is a game you want to buy because it's all there. Where this game differs extremely from Origins, and it's like the same interface, like so much so that it's the same icons, like it's literally the same systems. It's basically the same base level visual stuff from Origins. Where it differs is the superhero aspect. So the battle system is different. You can assign abilities, and these abilities are just OP as fuck. So in Origins as Bayek, if I was going to go to a fort and someone spotted me, I would restart the entire fort because I was like, I am fucked. With this game, if someone spots me, I'm like, okay, come on, and I can take 20 people on and kill them and be absolutely fine. And the reason I think I'm fine is they have a new mode in this called like Conquest, where as a Spartan, because you're a Spartan, you're fighting the Athenians, and you're meant to be able to take on 20 people at one time. And it's not balanced any different as it is in the main story of the game. So if I'm able to take 20 people on in this one system, I'm able to take 20 people on in a fort.
Oh, okay.
So if I get spotted in stealth mode in Odyssey, I don't go, shit, I'm going to have to restart because I will die. Like if Bayek got confronted by 3 people, I would probably die. If Cassandra, who I'm playing as, gets confronted by 10 people, all I need is a bit of space to back up and I can take them on perfectly and kill them all. The AI feels a bit stupider as well, to be honest.
Is Cassandra like a main character in this game, or is she customizable, or what?
She's a main character. There's 2 main, like you can choose from either Cassandra or Alexios. I was told that Cassandra is the canon character.
I heard that.
But she's not on any of the main artwork. I bought this digital, like the digital icon is Alexios.
Yeah.
If you buy the game, Alexios is on the front of it. If you buy the Medusa version, the figure is of a male Spartan, which is probably Alexios. So I'm like, okay, they say she's the canon character, but in the actual visual marketing, she is really, really not.
Still cowards.
Yeah, like to be honest, I was kind of like,
Well,
the only reason I know she's the main character is because people have told me.
A teenage boy we focus tested this game against had very strong opinions.
Well, you're playing as one with cool legs.
The big difference with this and a lot of like stuff that people were excited about is it has a romance option. And I would not call this a romance option at all. I would call this a hookup option.
Yeah, now we're talking.
So you will meet a character and it will literally be like, you'll have 3 dialogue options and it'll be like, yes, I'll do this. No, I won't. Or like, let's bone. And if you like it feels like you're literally trading sex to do a quest. So like a character's like, I want you to get this thing, and you're like, I'll do it if you'll bone me, and they're like, okay, maybe when you come back.
How wide are the boning options? Like, can you bone nearly anyone? Or?
No, there's specific characters, maybe about 10 in the world.
There are horny NPCs out there.
Yeah, about like 10 like main quest givers that you can bone. And I didn't end up boning the first girl, like Odyssey, because it felt weird. It felt like kind of like, I will trade you like doing this quest for you for sex, because the only option I could pick was either yes, no, bone me. You know what I mean? And so like say in BioWare games, you have like, say, the romance option, and that will slowly build into a romance. With this, it's like bone me, bone me, bone me, bone me, bone me. And I was like, this kind of feels really weird. So I didn't press the bone me option. So then my romance was cancelled with her.
Yeah, because like with the BioWare stuff, it did always feel like, oh, these characters are becoming invested in each other.
Yeah.
It felt very organic.
It felt like you were flirting.
Yeah. Like there was a nice escalation from to like, oh shit, I actually really like this person, to boning.
Yeah, where with this, it feels like you meet someone and you have 3 options, and one of them has the little love heart, and if you don't press the little love heart, then you won't get the romance option. But that little love heart is basically like, I will trade, if you trade me sex, I will do your fetch quest. And that feels really weird to me.
I'm confused about where the power dynamic is there.
Yeah, like Cassandra and Alexios, who you play, is a mercenary. And like with like Bayek in Origins, you play as like this character who's called a magi, who's like he's like a person of the people, and his goal is to help the people because that's his kind of mission in life. With Cassandra and Alexios, your goal is to make coin. So you don't really have any real alliances like in the early game. That also makes it feel weird with these romances, because it's like coin or sex or any of these, like, you know, it's like, it's very like,
so okay,
gratification based.
you can spend the coin on whatever, money, equipment.
Mm-hmm.
What gameplay advantages does the sex offer?
Literally none. It is like world building or character
There
building.
should be a separate upgrade tree for sexual promiscuity.
Maybe I would be okay with that, like if it gave you something.
Yeah, like you are just more raunchy out there.
Yeah.
And people know that you know.
Like, oh,
You
Cassandra
offer-
the Great Lover. Like, if I got
Yeah.
that name, I'd be okay with it.
Is the playable character in this an assassin, or are they a mercenary warrior? or what?
So far, she's a mercenary. I'm pretty
Yeah,
like.
'cause, like they really don't look like assassins. They're not.
Yeah.
hooded
From what I
or-
She
heard-
doesn't have
from
a
what I
secret
heard-
blade. She has a spear that she just stabs into people's head.
From what I heard, there's lines of dialogue where she says, "I am not an assassin."
This could have been a new
Assassin's
IP.
Creed Odyssey.
Yeah, it really could be a new IP, but I think because it's directly using kind of like the overall like systems and stuff of Origins, they could not do that, because like I'm like literally down to every, like the chest icons when you want to get a chest is the same from Origins.
That would drive me insane. I really don't like stuff like that.
I totally get that. I loved Origins, so I am having a great time in Odyssey, because it is, and I say this like if you're a nature buff, this is a game you would like, because there's so much cows, goats, dogs, roosters, like vultures, wolves, bears, lions, like there's just, nature is a big part of the world kind of thing. And traveling through that world is very visually pleasing because of the nature. When I was playing it, it took me literally 6.5 hours to reach the title screen.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I know. It was like I was like, oh, I guess I'm starting the game now.
Do you guys ever find like late title cards just like really unexplainably hilarious?
Yes.
Because if I'm watching, like, say I'm watching a 20-minute TV show and 7 minutes in a title card shows up, I lose it and I don't know why.
You're like, you are so up your own ass.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking TV show.
But that's kind of what I felt like this. They should have just put the title card at the start, and I don't know why they did that if they knew their starting area would take anywhere from 4 to 10 hours to complete.
Like, I want to watch an episode of Friends and the credits and the opening credits play at minute 19. That would be the funniest thing in the world to me.
Because like I think you play Resi 4 and you're about 45 minutes in, and you get that big sequence in the village, and then he goes, "What is it? Bingo night?" And then like the camera pulls out and it says the title.
Bingo night.
That's
Leon's
really funny.
such a charmer.
And like that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's paced super well. 6 hours is a bit mad.
You sound like you're having a good time with this one, Eve.
I am, and it's like, it's one of these things that if you do not like Assassin's Creed and if you did not like Origins, this will literally do nothing to change your mind. It is the same game, except you are way more powerful and you need to be less careful.
I feel like I used to not like Assassin's Creed, but honestly, I have no idea what that series even is anymore.
Oh, it's completely different. Like if the last game you played was Assassin's Creed 2, like it is unrecognizable as a series.
Yeah.
Just to give you a bit more details, when you start this game, there's two options. You can play it in exploration mode or guided mode. Guided mode means when you get a mission, it will put the icon on the map and you travel there. Exploration mode means it will tell you kind of, and this is what I'm playing, it will be like, it is north of X area and south of this area. There is a center in lake kind of thing. It will give you kind of
That's
clues.
so cool.
Yeah, it's so much better.
And I would probably die a death trying to do that, but that's fucking awesome.
Can you change that on the fly?
Yes, you can
Okay,
change it
that's
in and out of the
really cool.
options if you're like really frustrated by it. And like if you visit the area, the icon will show up because she knows the area. If you haven't, you will have to discover it yourself. And I'm liking that so much more because I'm using the map and I'm looking at the places and I'm like, okay, so north of here and it's an island. That looks like it could be an outcrop there. I'll go here and I'll try that. And then you use your eagle to kind of see where it is. And I think like if you're going to play this game, exploration mode is the way to play it. Other differences from Origins is it has stealing now. Like before, if you saw an item, it would just be labeled loot and you could take it. Now, if it's in a town, you can either steal it, or if it's like outside of a town and it's like an area, it's just loot kind of thing. If you steal it, you will kind of in a GTA fashion build up a kind of wanted bar, which will kind of lead into the game's mercenary system, which is kind of like the Lord of the Rings games.
The Nemesis system. Yeah.
Where a mercenary will, someone will take a bounty out on you and a mercenary will try and find you and you will have to defeat them for better loot. To stop this from happening, you can either kill the people who take out the bounties on you, kill the mercenaries themselves, or pay off the bounties. I think it's a really fun mechanic because like I was like really going through a fort like absolutely perfect, but I had a bounty on me and I didn't bother clear it because I was like, that's not gonna rub up against me. But while I was like stealthing my way through this mission and being like really, this fucker shows up and he tries to kick my ass and I'm like, oh shit, and you know, and he just causes complete chaos and I have to deal with him as well as the whole fort now being like alerted to where I am. Just other stuff, as I said with the combat, I think the AI feels way stupider in this game in Origins. Like really way stupider. It's way easier to get a stealth kill. It is way easier to get away from them, like literally hide behind a rock right in front of them and they'll be like, I guess she's gone. And you're like, yeah, I guess I am. There is less climbing in this. Like in Origins, I felt like I was still climbing because it's Assassin's Creed game. I was climbing up buildings and I was climbing up pyramids even. In this, climbing feels clunky and I feel like I'm bad at it. There's the naval stuff that was in 4, so you have a literal ship and you can do naval battles and you can build up your ship and you can build up your crew. I have an all-female crew and we go around killing everyone. It's amazing.
Just like you always dreamed.
Like I always dreamed of. And there's little details to the naval crew, like they sing their sea chanties, and if you have like a female crew, it'll be like a female voices singing. If you have a male crew, it'll be a male crew singing, and it's really nice and it's really interesting. And that's quite fun. It's more simplified than like Assassin's Creed 4, but it's still like a fun thing. There is dialogue options in this, but if anything, I think it makes the game less personal. Like Bayek felt like it was a more personal story than Cassandra, even though I have options for her to say things. When I get an option to say things, it just feels like I'm asking where things are, like literally locations, like whereabouts would this be would be a thing, and like it's gonna say it on the map anyway. It doesn't feel necessary. I think they put it in as something to make it seem more like a personal journey. I think it would actually be better suited if it didn't have the dialogue options, to be honest, because it's never been so different that it was necessary. Yeah. Kind of thing. But like, just to wrap it up, I'm about 25 hours in. I have literally done one island of a huge space. I think this game is going to be like 70 hours long.
I've heard people throw 100 hours about. I've heard the term definitely the most Assassin's Creed thrown around.
Exactly. There was a thing I read, and like Jim Sterling from the Jimquisition, who I really, really love and respect, and Polygon did an article about needing an XP boost, and that you should get this XP boost if you really want to enjoy the game, and it gives you 50% XP.
Like, Polygon did an article saying, like,
you should probably get this, that this is the best way to play this game. And Jim Sterling was like, this is fucked that you might need this to enjoy this game at the best. I think that is absolutely bullshit. I don't think you need this XP boost at all. Like, I think there's a difference between I need to grind to get to the level I need to be viable in this area, and there's just a lot of shit I gotta do to progress.
Yeah. I think if a game is designed with a grind in mind, you feel it immediately. I think it's kind of, okay, I haven't read the article, a little bit fucked to Polygon to be like, you should get this piece of downloadable, you should get this XP booster. That's very strange to me they do that. Strange,
and it is totally fucked, because I read that before I got the game and I was like, okay, it's €10 to get this booster as well, so I need this extra €10. €10? Yeah, and I was like,
you
so I need this.
You can buy fucking games for €10.
I know. And then I was playing the game and I was just like, maybe I should get this because they say it's better, and like, you do not need it. Like, you need the €10 booster if you don't want to play a 70-hour game. If you want to play a 35-hour game where you progress twice as fast, then get the booster, but that means you're doing half the content as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I've always found the concept of paying more to play less of the game kind of baffling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not getting your money's worth then.
And I don't feel like Jim is kind of like saying that they built like this grind into it to kind of push your hand to buy the booster. I also don't think that's true because I think it's a long game. Like at the start of the game, you find out like that Cassandra, her father is this like Spartan warrior called the Wolf of Sparta. And he's told by the Oracle that he needs to kill his children. And she is one of his children. And you need to confront him. And I was like, this is going to be the narrative of the game. That is resolved in the first 10 hours.
What? Oh.
Yeah, that is like resolved really, 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 really quickly. And I was like, okay, I guess that is not the story.
Man.
Kind of thing. And it was cool, and meeting him was cool, but it is not the overarching arc. But I never once felt that I was like being artificially slowed down. I did not do all of the stuff I had to do in any given area. I just did what I thought was fun, and I was always the right level to progress, or maybe one level behind, never like 5 levels behind or something like that. So I don't think it's a grind. I don't think you need this XP boost. I think this conversation that people are having online about the XP boost is like bullshit, to be honest. Like, I don't think it's necessary in any capacity, and I don't think Polygon should have written an article telling people to spend €10 to enjoy this game.
Like, I'm gonna go read that because that sounds bizarre. But man, like, I don't think the boost should be in the game. I'd much rather the game just be balanced without it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Where like, it's not, they haven't actually installed a grind that makes, like, they haven't Shadow of Mordor to it.
Yeah, no, I don't feel like, oh man, I'm grinding before I can hit the next story mission. I feel the next story mission is happening pretty organically while I'm in the world.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. So real quick, I've been playing the Capcom Beat 'em Up collection. Brian, we played some of this.
Yes, we did. We played 2 of the games, and I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, we played Battle Circuit, which is a game I'd never played before.
This was a surreal mishmash of characters of all shapes and species.
I would say 90s arcade scrolling beat 'em up at its most surreal.
Yeah.
One of the characters is a giant pink ostrich with a little girl riding on her back. The character selection screen is very clear that you are not playing as the little girl riding on the pink ostrich. You are playing as the pink ostrich who has a little girl assistant, and that is important.
Yeah, because she's only used for like special assist attacks.
Yeah. And then like the other characters is the boy, then Stretch Armstrong, beautiful kick woman,
Catwoman.
Yep.
She's like a feline woman who also has another cat that follows her, a rabbit cat thing.
Kind of squirrel thing.
Yeah, just some sort of mammal.
And then just a straight up plant monster. And not even like a humanoid plant monster, like a giant daffodil with teeth and vines going everywhere.
This is like Little Shop of Horrors
Yeah.
looking motherfucker.
Yeah.
What are you playing on this on?
This is on, we played on Switch, it's on Switch, PS4, Xbox One. It's 20 quid, it comes with 7 scrolling beat 'em ups, all like arcade based. So all of them about 40 minutes. I have beaten 5 of the 7 games on it, and like they have infinite continues, so it's not hard because like, you know, those games are balanced to get as much money out of you as possible. So it would have been nice if maybe they had found a way to kind of like give you a set number of lives and challenges, something they haven't really done any of that work. But that said, the games are so enjoyable. Like, I love arcade games because like a lot of the time you had these games with regular budgets that were just poured into 40 minutes. So this is how you get like a Metal Slug game where, you know, the animations are just insane and like things are animating on ones and everything's so detailed. And so far, like, the best of these games are like that. Like, we also played Armored Warriors, Brian.
Which is, you're playing as giant mechs. So this was really cool because the camera is very zoomed out. So some of the enemies are just like tiny humans, which you can just steamroll over.
You punch them and they explode.
Cool.
Because they're just tiny humans.
And you were invading an enemy planet.
Well, we played it in Japanese, so we weren't 100%, but we're pretty sure we were the evil alien invaders.
Can you flick between Japanese and English?
Yeah, for every game.
Okay, cool.
It's really cool.
And they have an unlock at the end, or well, like in the menu, you can go through all the album art, but they have all the cabinet art as well as concept art, and then just promotional art too. It's really, really cool.
Really cool. And like with Armored Warriors, it was awesome because like you drive a mech, but you can get new parts for your mech. And so like at one point, Brian had like a laser sword, a rocket launcher, and these giant spider legs. Fucking cool.
And so they're from like the enemy mechs that you destroy, but they'll leave like one of their appendages
Yeah, you literally
behind.
tear their parts off and equip them on yourself.
And so you know how like in Streets of Rage someone might leave a knife down and then you can pick up the knife and you have a knife for a short term, like it'll last you like
3 hits or something.
3 hits, yeah. And so this will kind of last you like a fair amount.
Yeah.
And then we didn't realize, because a lot of these arcade games are 2-button games, but we didn't realize this one was actually a 3-button game because you had a long distance beam. And that really changed the mechanics.
Totally, yeah.
How long did it take you to realize that?
We were over halfway through the game.
Yeah. And we were like, oh.
Now, in fairness, that's probably about 25 minutes, but yeah.
Because for us, what would happen is that there was some enemies we just couldn't figure out their pattern, or like we were like, if this was an arcade, we would be game over right away.
Yeah.
But then we realized, oh, you keep your distance. There is a way to do it. And then like we would do 2-player co-op, but a lot of these games were set up for 4-player co-op.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that is insanity on screen,
Yeah.
but I'd like to do that sometime. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. And like it's cool because like last year I kind of went through like a bit of a like I got really interested in scrolling beat 'em ups again, and it was hard to find much in the modern day that really scratched that itch properly. And like, you know, I went our arcade recently opened up near us and I played like the Simpsons game there, and like that Simpsons game isn't great. It looks amazing, but it's not great.
It's not paced very well.
No, but playing through these kind of classic ones, especially Final Fight, Battle Circuit, Armored Warriors, and Dragon King, I think it's called.
Yeah.
These were a lot of fun, and like there's so much work and effort that's gone into them, and the animations are so beautiful. The Dragon King one, King of Dragons, that's what it's called. It's like you have one attack on that, and there's not even a combo. You attack people and they fall over, and then they get back up, and you attack them again and they die. But it feels so good to hit them. Like they got the hits so right that you can easily go through this 40-minute game with just that attack, and it feels amazing. And I had a great time with this. If anyone has like nostalgia for those old beat 'em ups, really recommend this. It's a lot of fun. Like I'm gonna play through these on like flights and, you know, train journeys, whatever, just because they're 40 minutes and you just get everything they have, and they're really charming. I totally recommend it. Brian,
Yeah.
tell us about Pikmin 3.
I'm replaying Pikmin 3 at work on my lunch breaks. This is one of my favorite games on the Wii U, and it's one of the few games that utilize the Wii U gamepad, so you need 2 screens to play it. Pikmin, I don't know, have you played Pikmin before?
I played the GameCube one.
Yeah.
Never played them.
So
I'm ashamed to say.
It's a really interesting idea that like 15 years ago Nintendo decided to come up with a new IP, and it was a real-time strategy game.
Yeah.
And it was like, how's Nintendo, which is, you know, kid-orientated, going to do a real-time strategy, which is generally known for Command and Conquer? And they came up with Pikmin, where you play as an alien who lands on a planet similar to our own, and they're tiny, and they pluck little creatures out of the ground, and they obey your commands. And you blow a whistle, and it's the same whistle noise that kindergarten teachers blow to get kids in line. And it's really silly and fun. Pikmin 3 looks fucking amazing. It uses the tilt shift effect so well, and because like the Wii U was the first HD Nintendo console, and this was kind of one of the like games that they kind of pitched the Wii U with, like, this is one of our first party titles. And I think it did okay sales wise for the Wii U, but a lot of people haven't played this game, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Is this a game that could ever be ported to something else, or is the double screen thing something that means it just cannot be ported?
I think it could be ported, but it would be switch between 2 screens on the fly. Because the way the double screen works is that at any point you can tap the touch screen on the Wii U gamepad, and it'll pause the game, and you can survey the map, and you come up with a strategy. Because you start off with one character, and the game does a very good job of pacing out the storyline, but you end up getting 3 protagonists and about 5 or 6 different types of Pikmin as the story progresses, and you revisit locations that you've been to before with water Pikmin, so that you can now go underwater. Or
are you controlling the 3 protagonists at once?
No, you can switch between them, and what you can do as well is you can tell them so that you can switch to one, and like move the cursor and select a bunch of Pikmin, and then tell them to go to a certain location, and then they'll tell you when they're there, and then you can get them to do farming for
And so can
a
you
resource.
switch back to your other character then while
Yeah.
they're doing? So that is pretty much I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
It's a real time strategy,
Yeah, yeah.
and like I'm playing it with my buddy Steven, and we're taking turns. But like, you need more than one person to keep an eye, and you are like managing each other. It's kind of like it really does feel like there's like a driver and there's a passenger driver who's kind of remembering stuff that you did 5 minutes ago that you've completely forgotten because you've done like 3 other things since then, and you want to maximize each day, because the way it's done is that it's a resource-based game, or story, that the characters come from another planet where they've used up all the resources, and they come to a very Earth-like planet, and they're collecting fruit, and they're gonna use the seeds and plant the seeds on their own planet, but they need to use the juice from the fruit to keep themselves going. So at the moment I have 18 days worth of reserve, so I've got that far in the story, but some of the boss battles are incredibly difficult, where a day takes approximately 20 minutes, and so you could chip away at a boss, but you might only get him down to like, a third health, and you have to come back another day and plan it out. Or you might need a day where you need to fire more Pikmin because the boss uses fire, so you need red Pikmin to counter it. So it's a very complex but cute looking game.
That sounds super complex, and like the whole like Nintendo, it's a strategy for kids. Is this actually a strategy game for kids? Like, is that playable for a child?
I don't think it is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of difficulty with this game, but like, it's super Japanese and charming, which is like what keeps me going. But I think if I was like under the age of 10, I would be crying because this game is so hard. Or maybe I'd be really good at it and you'd feel like a fucking mastermind. Like there is, like, it really uses like a side of your brain that you don't use often. Apparently Pikmin 4 is near the end of development. They have not shown anything of it.
Interesting.
Just Nintendo have said like, oh, it's in development, and like, we're going to say something soon. They said that like 2 years ago.
I also think it's interesting how Nintendo have never like given up on Pikmin in the way they kind of do with some of their more niche properties.
Yeah, for sure. It's very important to them. And even in like certain systems, like the 3DS had a Pikmin game, but it was a spin-off. But when you would transfer your system data from an old 3DS to a new 3DS, they would use Pikmin as the animation because they're just kind of part of like the Nintendo family.
Yeah. I really love the design of Pikmin. I think they're really, really cute. You know those like little like felt wormy things you get? It's like them personified as little characters.
They're that perfect kind of like middle ground between cute and like just weird to the point they're nearly a little creepy.
Yeah.
Like nearly.
They're like little vegetables or
Yeah,
some shit.
yeah.
Like I kind of want to eat one.
The way they did the promotional art is that they made them out of plasticine and then took photos of them out in like gardens.
Oh.
And it just really adds to the charm. And so like you'll explore a world and it'll have like jungle music, and it'll kind of like have all these kind of like strange alien sounds off in the distance, and you're kind of like, wow, I'm really exploring like this like magnificent land. But then you'll see like a giant flower pot. Yeah, and like it does do the tilt shift thing that like Octopath does as well, where it kind of feels like a play set, but like a living, breathing one.
Cool. Sounds really good. Every time you talk about that, it makes me want to give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that Pikmin 4 is definitely in development and it comes out to the Switch. I really want to see what they do next with this series because I'm a big fan.
Yeah, cool. Neve, let's talk Tomb Raider.
I've been playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and it's kind of taken a little bit of a backseat for me because I've been trying to stream it, and I've been playing Odyssey as well.
Have we ever plugged your stream on the channel?
I don't think so. I stream sometimes at Fall Dogs on Twitch, and my plan is to stream the entirety of Tomb Raider, and hopefully I will do it. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, to me, is the perfect end to this series, in the sense that it is the most Tomb Raider. Like, this is kind of what they were building to, and it's the same marketing from the first one in 2013 to Rise to this one where it's like, see Lara become the Tomb Raider. And that kind of, as a marketing strategy, gets fucking boring. I was like, I thought she was already the Tomb Raider, but now she's finally the Tomb Raider, or some crap like that. And that's really frustrating. But this does seem really like the accumulation of the last two games. It's like they have kind of taken what people like and have put it together and made Shadow. And Shadow is a stunningly beautiful game. Like, it is, I'm playing it on the PlayStation Pro. I was originally playing it on the PlayStation just standard, like the S. And the loading screens were abysmal. Like 30 seconds to 40 seconds every time you died.
Oh no.
Yeah, like bad time. I switched it to Pro and I was streaming the first part of it. And I was like, okay, just so you guys know, these loading screens take a long time. They didn't. The difference between the Pro and the S is just night and day to play this game on. It looks so much better and it's way better optimized and the loading screens are so much better. So keep that in mind if you don't have a Pro, is the loading screens are kind of... They damage the game. They really do, because there's some bits where you will die a lot of the time because you don't know what you have to do.
Ooh, that's
and it's a bit of trial and error. Yeah. And you kind of have to figure out what you want to do. And then you're like, okay, I've got it. So you've died 4 times and you've seen that brutal death sequence. And like when you're waiting 30 seconds in between dying 4 times, that's 2 minutes of just waiting. As I was saying, this is like kind of accumulation of everything. This gives Lara more story. It gives her more kind of motivation for doing the stuff she wants to do. It's still based around her father, Robert Croft, where it's kind of like, is it Richard?
Richard
one
Croft?
of the R's, Richard Robert, where she wants to kind of fulfill what he was doing up until this moment. And that has been the narrative through a lot of Tomb Raider, is Lara trying to fulfill her father's wishes, trying to solve her father's puzzle, trying to legitimize her father's research. In this game, thankfully, it finally gets to a point where she goes, my relationship with my father is kind of fucked. You know, it's kind of messed up. This is something, my relationship with him is weird. And it actually gives you a sequence where you play as child Lara. And it has flashback sequence with her and her father, where they lock a lot of stuff behind a puzzle. And her father is creating these puzzles. And it's nearly like Lara needs to solve these things to get his affection. Or Lara needs to solve these things to figure out stuff about her own life or her own mother or her own past. And I think the game is doing a way better job with writing Lara as a character than it did in Rise. Because Rise, I felt she had very little character. And in 2013, she had character, but they kind of left that when the game ended and did Rise, where it was kind of more of a continuation and nothing happened. This game, again, is also weirdly structured, where a lot of people criticize the level of like shooting in this game. And shooting in the Tomb Raider games, where she kills a lot of people. There is way less shooting in this. This is way more about exploration and tombs and puzzles. And that's great. Like, I'm having a great time with the puzzles. They're the perfect level of difficult, but not too difficult that you're frustrated and stumped. Difficult enough that you feel smart when you figure them out. And difficult enough where they put clues in the narrative. So you find a piece early on and like, they originally thought this was a 13, but I actually think it's an 8. And you look at the image and it's a line and 3 dots and you're like, okay, so that line originally was taken as a 10, but maybe it's actually a 5.
Right.
And then later on, maybe 2 hours later, you'll reach a puzzle where you have to match numbers. And you're like, okay, well, they thought that was a 13, but it's actually an 8. So if I take that into account, this should be the answer to this puzzle. And that helps you progress through.
Cool.
So the answers to the puzzles are way more woven into kind of lore and textual stuff that happens earlier on. So you kind of have stuff in your inventory where you'll go back and you'll be like, okay, well, this bit was there, so that might equate to this. So it feels like the puzzles are really more built into the world and the lore of Lara Croft. I'm having a good time with this game, and I'm having a good time because this is a more refined version of the earlier games, and I like those games. If you like Tomb Raider, if you like reboot Tomb Raider, you will like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Because someone has told you that this is an Uncharted-like game, you will not be happy. This is not an Uncharted-like game. This game goes survival horror-esque.
Yeah, I actually watched a stream a bit of the leopard sequence.
Yeah.
And I was like...
It's vicious.
It was quite, like... It was pretty full on. Like, they do a good job of making those leopards seem like angry killing machines. And it was cool, because it wasn't just like... oh, here's an enemy. It was like, here is this dangerous hunting, killing machine that is trying to take Laura's life.
Totally. Like, I would rather run into 4 men with guns than a leopard in this game, because that leopard is so much more unpredictable. It's so scarier. If you climb up in a tree, you're like, okay, I can shoot arrows from the tree. It will climb up after you and
really
knock
cool.
you out of the tree.
Really, really cool.
Like, it is a full-on predator. The howler monkeys are just howling at you.
Did you guys ever see the documentary with the very famous nature documentarian, nature documentarian, David Attenborough, where he's like watching a war between 2 clans of monkeys?
No.
It's one of the most fucked up things I ever seen.
They're vicious.
Basically, one monkey gets like separated from his group, and he just gets pursued by like 90 of the other monkeys. They catch him, they pull him limb from limb.
That's so
and
scary.
David Attenborough starts crying.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm going to let him find out what that is. Like, I love nature documentaries, and I think if you enjoy, again, like with Odyssey, if you enjoy nature and kind of like, I'm spending a lot of time like taking photos of the birds and trying to identify it. It's set in Peru, and like the mythology in this one is all Mayan, and because of like all the Mayan stuff, it's like a lot of human sacrifice. So there's a bit where Lara's crawling through the entrails and guts of a sacrifice pit. So they're using the blood that becomes an oil to kind of propel all these gears. And it's really, really gross and really, really disturbing. So that's what I mean by it be kind of like nearly survival horror-esque.
Yeah.
So if you're going in thinking this is a Nathan Drake film-esque game, you are going to be very disturbed and you will die a lot. Like, you die a lot in Tomb Raider. It's a hard game. Like, it goes from like a leopard fighting you to a person shooting you down with a machine gun kind of thing. It jumps so drastically between what you're doing all the time that it nearly catches you off guard and you will die. I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm enjoying what it's trying to do with Lara. I am playing it with the headcanon I expressed in the last few episodes that she is an autistic character, and I think that explains so much. There's been a lot written about how this is about the game trying to talk about colonialism and about white colonialism, and specifically, I do not think the game is clever enough, and I don't think the writing is clever enough to talk about what it means to be a colonizer or what colonialism means. I appreciate it attempts to does it because it's a video game and video games don't like to touch politics. I like to that it attempts it, but I don't think it does it well enough to kind of take that as the see-through or like the follow-through of what that game is. But if you take it as a character learning why other people are upset and that she can't understand because, or not can't understand, but she's slow to understand the personal aspect of this because of autism. I think for me, I am having a more enjoyable experience with Lara as a character and with this game because of that headcanon and that read, rather than reading as an overall criticism of colonialism, because I don't think it does that well. And I know that is very much my read on it. And I'm saying if you're buying this game, if you think about it that way, it might improve your enjoyment. It might not, but maybe keep it in mind if you want to go there with it.
Sure.
Okay,
sounds good. Okay, real quick, gotta cover one last thing. Fist of the North Star, Fallen Paradise. This game for me was one of those ones where it was a fucking slam dunk. Yakuza team make a Fist of the North Star game. There's like all the Yakuza voice actors are playing, you know, the characters they should play from Fist of the North Star, and I was really, really excited about this game for a lot of reasons. I've never been fanatical about Fist of the North Star. I really like it. I enjoy Kenshiro, I enjoy Jaggy, I enjoy like, you know, Rao and all the boys. And obviously like I love Yakuza so much, and like I think what I really respect about the Yakuza team, and one of the reasons I feel like I've become so invested in just everything they do, is because Yakuza never do a B game. There's never been a game I've played of Yakuza where I've thought they didn't try the fuck out of this one. I've never played Dead Souls. Maybe that's one, but even with Dead Souls, I feel that that's probably a lot of fun with some very poor game design decisions. But even like I remember when Rebecca was showing me the Kenzin, the samurai one.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like a spin-off game. Like, wouldn't it be wacky if Kiryu was a samurai? Like, that's what I thought. It's not that at all. It is a full-blown samurai game with the Yakuza engine. It's beautiful. Cutscenes are amazingly directed. It's not a half step at all. It's just another Yakuza game. So, and I think that's awesome. Like, no B games. This is a fucking B game. And it is such a bummer. I am really so disappointed by this game. And it's difficult to get into, like, why it feels that way. But, like, one thing I noticed on this is Nagoshi, the kind of creator behind Yakuza, he's listed as an executive director on this game. I don't know what that means, but he's listed as director on most of the other games. And, like, the first thing I thought was, like, wow, these cutscenes really lack a lot of impact. All the cutscenes are, like, middle shots, just back and forth between the characters, and then they fight. And that same, like, sense of, like, intense, like, just melodrama that you get from the Yakuza games, it's just not there, Making things worse, it's like the combat system just, it's not that fun, I don't think. And, like, it's really sluggish, because what happens, like, the Yakuza combat system has this really nice flow where you beat up people a little bit and then you build to the, like, heat moves, and they're the exciting points of the fight. And you watch Kiryu just beat the shit out of someone in a really interesting way, and it'll have, like, Quicktime events that if you fail, he won't do the rest of the move. Those heat moves exist in Fallen Paradise, but it doesn't matter if you fail or not. That governs how much damage you do, not the animations. And that took me out of it a bit. But the real problem I find is it does Kenshiro's, like, you're already dead stuff. But what that means is he basically does a heat move, then you wait another 3 or 4 seconds for a bad guy to explode. And in some fights, you might be fighting like 20 people. And so if you want to hit all of them with a move, it's just really tiresome. And it's like, Brian, you saw me play a little bit of this.
It looked very flat and boring.
Really flat and boring. The same kind of world building and stuff just not in there. The same environmental design not there. And, like, it's got a cool art style. And I guess the biggest issue I've had with the game, and I keep thinking about this, and maybe this is me being crazy, but when they released the opening trailers for this, and, like, if this doesn't make sense, go back and watch these trailers, I really felt that the idea for this game was, like, Kiryu playing Kenshiro and different characters from the Yakuza universe kind of playing Fist of the North Star characters. And, like, in the earlier trailers, it had Kiryu turning into Kenshiro. Like, he literally morphs into Kenshiro. Maybe that's a crazy fucking thing to want, but that's what I wanted. This is not that. This is a straight-laced Fist of the North Star game. There is some wacky stuff, there's some wacky mini-games, but it's nowhere near, like, the level of insanity you get from the Yakuza. And I'm really, really disappointed by this game. Like, I would say if you're on the fence about it, really don't bother. Like, because even from playing Kiwami 2, which, I had some issues with, the same level of quality is not there at all. They're both €60 games. They're both from the same title. I don't know why I should have to accept that one is of lesser quality than the other. And yeah, it is the most disappointing game I've played this year.
That really sucks. A big thing that you like about Yakuza is the side missions. Does this have good side missions?
It has side missions, and it has some fun games, but, like, you see them and you're like, there's a really good bit where Kiryu makes a drink. That's really funny.
Kenshiro, yeah.
You're already drunk.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. That's very cool.
Very, very good. I wanted a game of that. That is boiled down to a few select sections, and that's it. I'm going to persevere a little more. I hope it picks up, but man, it's not even terrible. This should have been so much better. This is the mind of Jake Paul of video game series.
Harsh.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that does it for our strategy talk.
It is. Yeah,
man, we've got a heavy... Oh my god, it's late. Okay. Yeah. Let's go through our Quicktime Events.
New Switch hardware? rumored to be coming in 2019.
Sure.
Okay. It's probably like the 3DS versus the new 3DS.
Yeah, like this won't be an actual upgrade like
Yeah.
the Xbox One PS Pro. Do you think it might be?
For the Wall Street Journal ran this report, and according to suppliers and others with direct knowledge of the plan, there is a screen change. That is the big difference. Current Switch users use a lower-end liquid crystal display without some technology that are standards in most recent smartphone LCDs. Updating the displays with these technologies would make it brighter, thinner, and more energy efficient.
Yeah, because it has like a fan and everything in it. I think anything to make it feel more like a tablet and less like a portable PC tower, which it does feel like sometimes.
Would you guys see yourself going for this?
No, I'm pretty happy with the base model.
Yeah,
Like,
they made it too good, and I
yeah,
don't want another.
it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it a lot, and like I don't have any I don't go, man, I wish the screen was better. You know what I mean? So I don't have anything that would drive me to get this newer version unless it got older.
What about you, Brian?
Depending on how easy it is to transfer onto a new system.
Probably not.
Probably not. Because I have some stuff stored on an external SD card and then other stuff stored on the system, but I'd want to be able to like clone it onto a new machine and sell the other one.
Yeah.
I'd probably get this if that was a smooth transition. Just because the Switch is still worth a lot, and I'm always into new Nintendo tech.
Yeah, big time. Sony confirms PS4 successor in the works.
So not much news about this, apart from they confirmed that it is actually happening. They didn't even confirm that it's going to be called PS5, which it probably will be. The kind of perceived date that this would happen is 2020 to 2021, so you still have a lot of time with your PS4. The big focus that this would be on is streaming, and there's been even suggestions with the Xbox One that there would be two models, a streaming model and a non-streaming model kind of thing. So a lot of focus currently is on streaming. You've Project xCloud with Xbox and Google's browser streaming that they just announced and put into practice this month. So yeah, no surprise really. PlayStation are making another PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. The Quiet Man gets a release date, a new trailer, November 1st, PS4 and Windows. Cannot fucking wait. So excited for this game.
This game comes out a couple days after Red Dead Redemption 2. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yep. Sorry, Red Dead. Man, I feel sorry for the guys at Rockstar. Imagine working on Red Dead all this time and then just have it stomped into the dirt by the Quiet Man.
I got real David Cage vibes off this. It just seemed real, just silly looking.
From what I heard about the reports around it, the people making it aren't super self-aware as to why everyone thinks it's hilarious.
What they were saying with they update the Instagram and the Twitter, and I've alerts on for it because I find this game hilarious. But that this is going to be 3 hours long max.
Perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
That sounds great.
Yep.
I really like in the promotional trailer that they have the year 2019 up on screen, and then it flickers because it's like a neon sign, and then it says 2018, and it's okay. Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Are you releasing your game earlier than expected? Because it's so on schedule and so you're so confident that it should come out sooner rather than later?
I don't know. I see some guy in a suit just being shut it down, shut it all down.
Send it out to die.
Just kick it out.
Yeah.
Seemingly has replayability in that the first time you play it, you will be deaf, and then the second time you play it, you will be able to hear kind of stuff. And that's the reason why you should replay.
Yeah, I'm really curious to play a game, to experience something as a deaf person. And I hope this game has the knowledge and sensitivity to have that experience.
Brian, I personally guarantee you that it will. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse gets a new trailer.
This is a movie, not a game.
Mm-hmm.
What's this doing here?
I don't know. I put it there because it was a slow news week at the time.
Do you know what? I saw this trailer and this film looks brilliant. This looks super charming. I can't wait to see it.
I haven't seen the trailer, but I saw the first trailer and I was like, okay, that's enough. I'm good.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
I really, really like the Spider-Man multiverse and just the Peter Parker that we know who has a lot of shit to deal with, and I guess Miles Morales as well. But just like there are so many what ifs and iterations of Spider-Man out there, and they are going all out by the looks of it.
Has big shoes to fill in the form of Venom, though.
Can I say one thing about Venom?
Go on.
Apparently they show the trailer for this movie like as part of like one of the credits things.
That's so weird.
Because that's how much is going on in Venom. We haven't seen Venom yet. We're hoping to by the next episode maybe.
I think we can work something out.
We really want to see Venom, but we want to see it together. Because we think that's how it should happen.
It's about Venom is about unity.
Yeah, like we all feed off each other. We are.
Do you think that the symbiotes actually really like? Don't worry, Eddie. I was a nerd on my home planet.
I think that, it's really hard to get because to me that film has like a big bingo card of like loads of dumb like tropes and scenarios, and it's like maybe that happens. Maybe maybe someone dances in this movie.
Maybe. Harry Potter open world game leak. Sure.
Cool.
So this was a leak that came out of a where you get people to play your game and see if focus testing. So this was focus testing at a mall, and it was a Reddit user called Vape This Bro.
Yeah, that sounds like my kind of guy.
Well, you cast up a real vape there.
Who leaked this video footage, and it's an open world RPG by Avalanche Software that does Disney Infinity originally.
For some reason, I can just picture this really stoned vape guy, and they're like, "Okay, you have to sign this non-disclosure agreement." And he's like, "What?"
Basically, from what they said is that he wasn't allowed phones, but they didn't take anything off them or anything.
You gotta check Vape King for his phone.
But this is what he has to say about it. It was one of those mall survey groups. I wasn't allowed to have a camera. The signs in the lobby said no phones, but no one checked. The guys who did all the paperwork looked like they gave zero fucks on their job about their job, and were getting anyone and everyone who would do the viewing to do it. I got paid to watch it. Here's the video. So it seems like an RPG where you get to pick a character, you get to pick 8 different wizarding types, and you play through the world of Harry Potter. The footage that he leaked looked cool. If you're a Harry Potter fan, I think this is going to be a cool
8
property.
Different wizarding types.
That's it. The 8 wizards. Have you guys ever played a Harry Potter game?
Yes.
No.
I played Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on GameCube.
Yeah.
That game takes place over 6 days at Hogwarts. It is the most badly optimized game I've ever played. So like you'll be so like before school even starts, you're like walking around Diagon Alley, and like you have to go into like a shop, and it takes like 20 minutes to load in that shop, and then you go, wait, I didn't need to go into this shop. So then you go back out to Diagon Alley. It sucks.
Hopefully this will do that game justice.
Licensed games, I think we're really enjoying them this episode, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we're going to move into some email.
This first one is from Goliath, aka David. You know what? You can have as many names as you want on the internet, buddy. Hey, it's me, back at it again with a brand new mail. Here's some questions. Niamh, which one is your favorite Final Fantasy game and why?
It's a tie between Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy X. I like Final Fantasy VIII because it was one of the ones that I played when I was a teenager, and I really related to Squall's stoicism and then realization that actually friends are good. And then I like 10 because it really kind of led my appreciation for world building, and just the story really hit me hard.
I still remember a lot of those environments from 10, just thinking like, fuck man, they're really cool.
Then to me, which portable console is your favorite and why?
Oh.
My favorite portable console is specifically the Game Boy Advance SP. But it has to be an AGS 101, which has the better backlit screen. Or sorry, one's backlit, one is frontlit. You want the backlit one because the graphics are readable then.
Which one did you have?
I have 3 Game Boy Advance SPs because I'm
Not 3 Game
Brian.
Boy Advances, 3 Game Boy Advance SPs.
maybe a 4th one soon. Let's just see how we get on.
Yeah.
I could do another Game Boy Micro as well. It's my favorite because it has a huge library of Game Boy games. You can play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. The only game it can't play is Kirby Tilt and Tumble because it uses a gyro sensor and you mount the game cartridges in upside down, and there isn't an upside down option in Kirby Tilt and Tumble, unfortunately. But in WarioWare Twisted, they accounted for that, and it does have upside down mounting. There's an interesting fact.
Very good.
I also am very fond of the 3DS.
Great console.
The 3DS has some of the greatest video games ever made on it. Like, it has Ocarina of Time and Metal Gear Solid 3. Like, for fuck's sake.
That's so silly. And like, I love whenever you hear anyone talk about that Metal Gear Solid 3 3DS, they're like, it's better than you think.
No, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I own that game. It has some interesting ideas and what that game was at launch to what it is now, and it's still I'm getting Luigi's Mansion next week. So yeah, it like, to me, the 3DS is a close second. And then for John, aka that boy with the YouTube channel, have you seen MS Gundam Unicorn? If you had followed your career in pro wrestling, there's a couple of them. Okay, so let's do the Gundam one.
No.
Can I give you a little fact on that?
Sure.
One of the main characters in that is called Banagher Lynx. The town I'm from is called Banagher. I don't know why a Japanese anime named their main character Banagher. It is literally an Irish town, and there's a saying that goes with Banagher that's called Banagher beats the devil. And I honestly think they heard that phrase and thought, that's cool, let's call him Banagher.
And it's weird because the town's emblem actually has a Gundam in it.
And the devil. Really fucked up. Anyway, weird fact.
Gundam fought the devil in one. If you had followed your career into professional wrestling and you could make your own character, what kind of gimmicks would you have, and which intro song would you have?
Okay, so I had 2 ideas for a wrestler, and like, I guess these were both based on the wrestling show that we go to in Dublin, which is OTT. And OTT is an over 18s wrestling event, very boisterous, a lot of drinking, a lot of drug use, or at least like pretend drug use, and the crowd's there to have a good time. And so I'm like, okay, what would piss off a rowdy, because I want to be a bad guy, what would piss off a rowdy crowd of Irish wrestler goers? So my first one was the cyclist, in which I'd
Oh my god, they're so annoying!
so I'd come to the ring like holding my bike, like just kind of balanced on my shoulder. I'd be wearing full reflective gear and a helmet and everything, and I'd be doing kind of like a little jog with my hands open. And
that's such a heel.
I'd lock my bike to the ring, but it would take a really long time because I have several locks.
You should tie it to another bike or some shit, to some other shit.
So it would take me roughly 2 minutes to like lock everything to my bike, and the crowd would be really annoyed because they just want the wrestling match to start. And every time they boo to tell me to hurry up, I stop what I'm doing and I turn around and I raise my hands and tell them like to stop because I'm trying to concentrate. And
it'd be cool if you like signaled your arm out left that you're indicating to go left, but then you go right and you hit someone.
Yeah, and then I'd start every match with an anecdote about how I was cut off by a driver, and that I seriously hope that the wrestling crowd that night would never do such a thing. Just everything I can do to annoy and frustrate the audience. And I think the way that character would be, though, is I could only ever get the shit kicked out of me.
Yeah. You would have to be like a very strong punching bag.
Yeah. Or I'd be the kind who's always like getting out of trouble, but then that would culminate in like, you know, one of the really strong good guys coming out and beating the shit out of me, and so I'm trying to run away from him. So I run over to my bike with like all the locks, and it's taking ages to get everything off.
That's such a good gimmick.
Yeah, so that was that was one, and then I also wanted to do one which would be like if the previous one was frustrating the audience, this was just insulting them. I'd want to be like a really religious, kind of semi-cult like wrestler. I'd come out in a white suit and a white hat, and I'd have like assistants with me that would just be dressed in white t-shirts and white pants and white shoes, and they'd hand out pamphlets to the audience, and they'd say, the pamphlets would say, why you're terrible, with the, and what I'd say is that I'm going to make OTT the first all-Christian wrestling organization. And I was going to ban drinking at venues. I was going to ban female wrestlers. I was going to have designated prayer breaks during matches. And so like I'd come out during other people's matches and try and start prayer break. And I would rarely fight, but I'd have a posse that would like come in and kick the shit out of people and make them like go down on their knees and pray. And I think that would be a really good evil wrestler. And again, I think like me getting the shit kicked out of me would be very satisfying for the audience after like weeks of that. So yeah, those are my two gimmicks.
There you go. I hope you enjoyed those answers. Thank you for the questions. This next one, this is from Nayeli.
Hey guys, this isn't a video game related, but more life advice stuff. For the past few years, I've had to fill the parent role for my siblings, and recently one of my sisters has gone off to college. I'm really proud of her and glad she's been able to start her own life, but I'm starting to feel the sadness of not having her around. I've been trying to stay positive, but since I've another sister who needs me, but I'm really struggling. I was wondering if maybe Brian or Neve, sorry to exclude you, John, I know you're an only child, had any advice for this type of thing.
Yeah, this email was super relatable, and it's one we really, really wanted to answer. So thank you so much for emailing us in with this question. Neve and I are both the eldest siblings. I have 3 younger siblings. One is specifically 12 years younger than me, so I can remember him being born and like watching him growing up, and like being very kind of like, I don't know, parental to him, I guess. Neve, how about you?
Same, I'm like the oldest as well, and I have 2 siblings, and for reasons I was also in a kind of like semi-parental role, and it's kind of like leaving. I'm the one who left. I left for college, so it was one of those kind of things where I felt guilt for leaving, and
definitely the same with me for leaving college.
Yeah, because like me and Brian are from the country, and we moved up to the big city, you know, to like Brian's from a smaller city. Don't want to give Cork its props, but like it's kind of like it was difficult to do because you do feel that kind of secondary parent role is important, and it does define you, I think, as an older sibling. Like, yeah. I feel like me and Brian are older siblings. Like, I think it's obvious in some ways.
Totally,
yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Like, it just feels that when you're growing up with them in the same house, you just have all these opportunities to just give examples of advice because something happens and you go, no, like this. Mm-hmm. Or you see something you've done that they're about to do and you catch them before they fall.
You do that to me sometimes, Brian.
Yeah. And that's kind of, yeah, so like that's something you do. But I guess that's kind of where we've evolved it into, is that we try to do it to our friends instead. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it comes across as very condescending.
Yeah, or controlling.
And micromanaging. I think, unfortunately, it's just how we were raised, or it's how we kind of like know how to teach.
I feel great frustration when someone tells me a problem and I don't have an answer to fix it because it's not fixable, and I'm like, well, fuck, why are you telling me I can't fix it? You know, because I'm a fixer. You know, that's kind of the role.
Yeah, definitely.
I kind of go in.
Yeah, like to me, that like if someone's telling me a problem and they just want me to sympathize and go, yeah, that's shit. For me, I'm like, well, how can we fix this?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I don't want to fix. I just want to complain and I want you to listen. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, but how do we fix this?
Totally agree. I think in your position where you're watching someone leave, I think you need to fulfill their parent role of having to watch someone and literally focus on your pride. Like, you know, you've prepared your sibling to go off into the big world and do these things. And no doubt college is hard, that she will come back and she will be hurt or she will be ecstatic, and you will have to deal with those moments. So you're not like, it's not like you're forgotten, you're just not part of the momentary day to day. You know what I mean? And I think when like moving out of the country, I think like my siblings thought that I left them behind, but it's because they were living in the same space and nothing had changed for them. But for me, everything had changed. And I think you need to remember that for your sibling, their life has expanded in a way that is so beyond what you can comprehend. They're like dealing with new relationships, college, work, studying, like they're dealing with all these things. And even if they don't need you as much, they'll still need you, but maybe not in the same capacity. And you just have to wait for them to call, kind of thing. And you have to accept that maybe your role right now has kind of ended, but that doesn't mean it wasn't important, and it doesn't mean that you haven't armed them with the information and the strengths to kind of do what they need to do in college, you know? And maybe they won't even acknowledge it until they're ready in a place to acknowledge how important that stuff was either. It's patience, I guess, is what's important in this.
Yeah, you're probably already very, very patient. So hold on to that. But you will find yourself like being an older sibling to your friends.
Yes.
Or being like very maternal or paternal to someone the same age as you. Maybe even a year or two older. And you're like, that's a very weird dynamic. And you just kind of have to like check yourself sometimes.
It's a hard thing, and it's a hard thing to go through, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope it's successful for you. But like, I just want to say that like, I guess it will be hard, but you're strong enough that you've kind of helped raise these kids.
Yeah, you're a very caring and kind person. You can be caring and kind to yourself.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have one last email that kind of piggybacks off this a bit. Like there's a bit of cross between, and it's from Dylan, and it's about being homesick. Do you want to read this one, Niamh?
Hey guys, I have a lot to unpack here, so please bear with me. It's a little scattershot, but I need to get this all out. My girlfriend and I moved in together a couple of months ago. I moved out of state for my friends, family, and a job where I was liked and respected to be here with her. Now my only hope is to cling to what little work I can get at my 2 jobs while she does the financial heavy lifting. I hate how utterly useless I feel. I'm not threatened by her making more, I just want to help her. I used to keep myself distracted hanging out with my friends after work, but now all I can do is sit at home and wait. It's like that there's these voices in my head telling me to leave her here and go back to home with my tail tucked between my legs again, since I've tried to move away from my hometown once before. I do miss being single, but she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. She's doesn't deserve to be treated like the girl from Good Will Hunting. To summarize, I love her and I like my new town. I just hate my job, my bosses especially. Most importantly, I miss my friends and my old life simplicity. I feel like fucking useless shit for having these thoughts, and I feel trapped in my head. I'm sorry to bring the podcast down, but I don't feel like there's anyone else I can tell how I feel. I could use some of your insight. You're not therapists, you're queens. All the best, Dylan.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Disclaimer, we're certainly not therapists. All we can do is answer based on our personal experiences. So, Dylan and other people who may have resonated with this email, we can only answer this as best we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Short version, this is definitely not any kind of professional advice.
Yeah.
I think it's completely normal to feel how you feel. It is hard to move from normality and your normality to something completely different where you feel like you're struggling and you're not respected. And I think you're allowed to feel frustration. I think you're allowed to feel upset about it. But progressing and growing means that you have to go through these things.
No matter what you do, a situation will never stay the same.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, that's one thing I've kind of really learned. It's like, even if the geography of a situation stays the same, even if you're near the same people you've always been near, who those people are and what's important in their lives will change. So it's not like you've abandoned this one singular constant life that will always be there. You've changed your life as many of your friends back home are starting to change theirs. And so you can't as comforting as it is to probably go home, you have to come to terms with the fact as well that that is going to change of its own accord as well, which means that, you're not maybe losing out on as much as it feels like you're losing out. And like, I think that's something that you only really learn after seeing it happen 3 or 4 times, because I've definitely been involved in like a lot of different like friend groups and people who I got really, really close with over the years, and then watch the different ways those friendships not even like fall apart, that's too dramatic, but just
branches
kind of
out.
Branches out and kind of fades away,
Yeah, like it doesn't end in any resentment. It just dissolves into new and like kind of stranger interests, I guess.
Yeah. It's tricky with what you're talking about because it sounds like there's a lot of stuff happening. Like, you have this relationship with this girl who you're really fond with. It sounds like, if you're with them and you're still miss being single, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's very, very natural for people. But then when that starts to get mixed in with like other stuff, like you being moved, I think it's important to kind of take those issues in isolation. And also, I guess, if you're not happy right now, you don't have to settle for the current situation. But the solution to that doesn't have to be moving straight back home, especially if that's a thought that makes you uncomfortable, which it really sounds like it does. Like, it sounds like you would be very comforted by the fact that you're moving home, but it sounds like you'd also it sounds like you already would regret that decision, so you probably would regret it in time as well. And so what I would say there is, what can you do in your current situation to improve that? Like, if a big part of the problem is that you feel lonely, is there a class you can take up? Is there, a group you can get involved with or something like that to kind of fill that hole? Because like, I find, especially like the way I work, working from home a lot, when I get hyper focused on just doing my job and sitting at home, that is the most depressed I get by far. And when it's like I'm trying to get out and see people and kind of like, even just form new connections, like hang out with people I wouldn't hang out with as much, that's when I'm a lot happier. And so as tough as it is going to a new area and making new friends, like when you're ready, I think that's something that you should consider. But did they say anything in the email about how long they've been in this new situation?
Couple months ago.
I would say a couple of months is still that could still be potentially very new. Yeah. And in that case, maybe you do need some kind of quiet time. Maybe you do need to just cocoon for a little bit. But I think the important part is just, get right, develop a stable base, and start working outward from there. And like, if you hate feeling like you're, alone all the time, there's stuff you can do about that. If you're kind of worried about like the financial burden, I've been in situations before where, in a relationship where one person is taking a much greater financial burden than the other. And all I'd say there is you have to just trust that the other person is okay and okay with it if they say they are, and accept that you would do the same for them if the shoe was on the other foot. There's nothing more you can think about than that, because there's nothing to be gained from you, beating yourself up and feeling useless about it.
Yeah, like I do think there's a lot of anxiety about the uncertainty of what's going to happen next, because you don't know. And having a sense of constance being completely taken away from you, where you had a routine, you knew what was coming, and now you don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months, where you're going to be in a year's time. It's very uncomfortable.
I think there's these like stages in life, and I think it's like going to college, ending college, where your friend group and your peer group shifts and change that are the most confusing and depressing for a lot of people, because you have the stability, you have this kind of pattern that you're in, and that makes sense to you. And even if you want to like get outside of it, the shift is so jarring, because it's like removing all the safety nets, all the comforts, all the support networks that you've had, and trying something new, that it is really, really, really difficult.
I think like, if you get to the point, I think like with kind of big decisions like moving places and, jobs and relationships and stuff like that, I always think about like, which is the decision that's being motivated by fear? And the impression I get from your email is that the moving home would be a decision motivated by fear. You're scared that this new existence isn't going to work out. And I'd say, like, if in a couple of months' time you make this work and you still just want to move home, that's what you want, I think that's fine. I wouldn't move while you're still afraid. I'd beat that fear and then make a decision. And also, guys, on that subject, I think, like, a lot of people, especially younger people, they get very set on, like, what's going to happen, what way will things turn out. What I'd say to that is it doesn't actually really... It sounds strange, but it doesn't matter what way things are going to turn out. What matters is how you are right now. And so try to not stress about what way what this situation is going to turn into. Just take it day by day. See what you can improve, what little changes you can do to improve the day. Like, is there ways that you can get out more and see the town more and stuff like that? Just any little thing, because ultimately your current happiness is the only thing that actually matters. I have worried about so many fucking things in my life that never even came close to happening. Yet at the time, I was convinced they were a certainty and I was going to have to deal with them. And after going through that enough times, you realize it never happens. You know, well, it rarely happens. And when it does, it doesn't even happen like you think it does. So the better option is just to ensure that you're healthy and happy right now. And where can you put your energy to fix that? And I think once you start kind of like doing that a little bit, like your current state might eventually not start to seem as bad. You'll find yourself getting comfortable with it and even enjoying parts of it. And, you know, then you'll be in a position to really make a decision about, you know, where you want to be and what you want. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, it's definitely just about comparing yourself to your past self, your future self, other people that you'd like to be like, or you want their lives, you want a different life, but it doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
No, but it's always a temptation, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, for sure.
But even like looking at other people's lives, you've no fucking idea.
Yeah.
At all.
Especially when you look at it online or something and you're just seeing, like, you know, a curated version.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, growing up and you want a career in film or animation and you look at your favorite people and you go, I want my life to be just like theirs, and I'm gonna go the same, like, path that they went. That's not possible.
Yeah, totally.
You have to make your own path.
Yeah, and it's hard.
You know when you're growing up and they make you do that 5-year plan thing where it's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And it's like, I don't know how to answer those things, and it gives me stress.
I think in like our parents' generation, a 5-year plan was a lot more viable.
Yeah.
Now? What the fuck?
I don't know. We could be all underwater. Climate change is fucked.
Yeah, no, like there are so many variables now that you just have to be aware of your surroundings and adapt.
And the weird plus side of kind of being a depressive person, they kind of steer you away of making long-term goals, and they kind of try and make you look at things day to day. And that's really good in kind of cases like this, because you're kind of like, like you were saying, how can I make today better? You know, and how can I not worry about the future kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think that's good practice for everyone, because everyone, like, it is very easy to worry not only about the future, but about past stuff you've done and not actually try and help yourself in the present.
Did this person leave a name?
Yeah, Dylan.
Dylan. Good luck, Dylan. You'll be fine.
Yeah, Dylan, you're cool. Okay, and that's it with the emails.
That's it with the emails.
I just want to say that this is kind of like less of a goofy, funny episode, but more like a genuine, sweet episode.
I don't know. Did you hear that fucking Shane talk?
Is that pretty goofy?
I don't know what that was.
Okay, I'm really glad if you're still listening to this episode.
Thank you.
Because I'm getting a bit teary-eyed.
And with that, let's move into our shout-outs, our Patreon shout-outs.
This is on our Discord server, so if you support us on Patreon, which is patreon.com/LFAB, you can leave a message in our Discord and we'll give you a shout out on the podcast.
And it might sound a little something like this. So this first one comes from Chari Bedis.
Yep.
And it says, Free Fawn Bing Bing. I'm going to add right now, I know very little about that circumstance or why she is being imprisoned, but there you go.
tax evasion. I did air quotes.
Tax evasion with air quotes.
Yeah.
This is from Karanam.
Okay.
Karanam.
Okay, guys, you gotta be real. Like,
Yeah.
it's really hard to say usernames verbally.
Yeah, it really is. She's the strongest. Who? The girl listening to this.
Aww. And then from Bram Cracker with a tree at the end. Wherever you go, there you are. That is
some deep fucking shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Let's Fight a Boss. If you want to send us an email, actually, as well, it's askletsfightaboss@gmail.com.
That's askletsfightaboss@gmail.com.
If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, you can listen to it also on SoundCloud and YouTube and Spotify.
Yep.
If you can
And
leave a
vice versa.
review anywhere, please do, because that helps gets it in front of more eyes.
Yeah, no, please do leave us a review. It helps. I promise.
Only 5 stars.
Yeah. Do not say anything mean about us because we'll get really upset.
I want to know what we can do better.
Okay, only 4 stars.
Trust me,
minimum.
I love YouTube comments telling me how to do better.
John loves feedback from the real experts on the internet.
Yep, I really do.
The real professors and doctors out there.
Yep. Let's say we close things out with a loot drop. Okay, I'll go first. This is a video from a channel called Core Ideas, and it's on Teen Titans, and it's specifically on the Terra storyline from Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that was actually a storyline that already existed in the Teen Titans comic, and it's really interesting how the animated version of Teen Titans adapted it and really gave it heart and fleshed it out and made Terra a proper character. Like in the previous one, she was like, "I'm a bad girl," and it was really good, and I really like this guy's channel. He actually got in touch with me before, but I didn't watch it because I don't watch anything anyone sends me. But turns out this one's actually really good.
There you go.
Yeah, there I go. So fair play to him, and really looking forward to seeing what kind of stuff he does in the future.
Mine is a Twitch channel, Justice Kazi. And Justice Kazuma plays Resident Evil games, but as he plays them, he explains the lore of Resident Evil throughout the series. So he has gone through Resident Evil 0, Remake, and 5, and I've learned crazy stuff like that Chris, the gym nut, used to be a smoker, and just stuff like that. It's just
That's
fun
great.
little bits of lore dropped into really entertaining gameplay. So Justice Kazi on Twitch.
All right. Then I mentioned him earlier on, Kyle Mooney's YouTube channel before he was proper famous. I'm glad it still exists on YouTube, and it's very funny. It's just him interviewing people and being really awkward. Maybe just stick it on. I don't know. I like it.
And with that, we're finished. We went so fucking long with this episode. I'm not going to get to watch Better Call Saul tonight.
Oh, that's a really good episode too.
Time to have some more weird dreams.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, I've been having some crazy nightmares.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have a dog and I had a dream where she was turned inside out and it was really terrifying.
Good night, everyone!